1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Wilson, my bar is pretty high for weirdness. Like, this just feels like a Tuesday for Russell Wilson. It's so funny because he's so straight-laced, but then he has the most bizarre little social media things you'll ever see.
That's what I want to know about Russell's marketing. What's the angle? What's the philosophy we're going for with this guy?
I'm unlimited.
He's got that self-help vibe. You know how Tony Robbins comes off as kind of creepy?
That's the lane he's trying to go in?
That's the lane we're in right now.
Wow. I'm embarrassed for him.
Be careful, though.
Yeah.
It's like Wedding Crashers, and she's like, I'll find you. Remember that?
Yeah.
Be careful, though.
Are we doing serial killer? That's what's going to sell the sandwiches? Because
spicy.
why? Because it's spicy?
It's spicy.
What a stone cold weirdo that guy is.
Unlimited.
Here are Maggie and Perloff.
What up, what up? Welcome to the show. It's Friday. You made it. Big inhale, big exhale. Welcome to Maggie and Perloff. Perloff still swooshing down the ski slopes. Sal Licata, overnight host from WFAN, kind enough to fill in for Perloff today. Sal, and thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, are you kidding me? Thanks for having me. You saved me having to do a 5-hour overnight by myself early this morning.
Having to talk to New Yorkers at 3 o'clock in the morning is not where you want to be. You want to be right here with us. And so glad to have you across the country, CBS Sports Radio. Of course, we are streaming live, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Let me send a special hello to the Weedos and the Purple Drinkers in the chat. I'm going to find myself in a very odd position today. This is not because you're here, Sal, but just because I'm going to defend Russell Wilson today.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to be the only person because an article in The Athletic came out today, and I can't sugarcoat it. It makes Russell Wilson look really, really bad. It paints a picture that he attempted to get Pete Carroll and John Schneider, the coach and GM of the Seattle Seahawks, fired. Shows that he had far too much influence with the Denver Broncos, maybe abused that influence, had his own personal trainer in the building, got his own office, sat in the office, not as much in the locker room, all that stuff that really attempts to put Russell Wilson as you 52 guys over here and I'm number one over here. But Sal, I want to defend Russell Wilson and all of his weirdness.
Okay.
If I am the best quarterback in the history of a franchise, and I'm talking about Seattle, if I'm someone who's getting paid tons of money, all the pressure is on me, right? The Legion of Boom is over. I'm here now. I'm going to be the focal point and the centerpiece. And then all of a sudden, I feel like my coach, GM, not making great decisions for the organization, doesn't showcase me when I'm still in my athletic prime. I'm making sacrifices for the team. We all agree that it wasn't working anymore in Seattle. So why wouldn't Russell Wilson think, well, they probably want to keep me, right? I'm the guy who's making all the money. I'm the one whose face is all over the stadium. I'm the one who they're pushing front and center. Not to say it's okay to go to, a boss and say, I want this person fired, but to go and say it's either me or them, I can understand why Russell Wilson felt like he was at that breaking point.
I don't know if I could defend that necessarily. I do think that Russell Wilson's been getting dragged here for no good reasons with his failures in Denver. Because to your point, Maggie, you're talking about a guy who was the face of the Seahawks franchise. Right. Obviously, great success, winning Super Bowls, being in Super Bowls, all that stuff. Now, that's all he knew was Seattle.
Right.
Then you come to a new spot in Denver, and you're supposed to be the guy. You want to do things your way.
Right.
So I don't have an issue with Russell Wilson. Oh, Russell Wilson, it was his way or the highway, or he was trying to do this or that. Yeah, I would expect that. He's trying to get a feel for a new organization, but he's got to stay true to what he knows made him successful in the first place. And if he truly felt in Seattle that he wasn't going to have success with Pete Carroll, with the GM, the way that things were structured, and the way that players in sports, especially successful players like Russell Wilson, have been given a voice,
right,
then why wouldn't he potentially want to use that voice?
Listen, the idea that he had too much influence in Denver, I mean, isn't that really a matter of opinion?
They brought him there for that.
Well, they brought him there and then they paid him a ton of money. You trade the 2 first-round draft picks, the 2 second-rounders, right? It's 3 players, and then you go there and you give him a $250 million with 130 guaranteed. Of course he's going to feel like he has influence. And honestly, what's the crime here? That the guy wanted an office? Why? Because he wanted to spend more time at the facility talking about football. Even in this article, it says he's got whiteboards all over, drawn up plays. TV is always turned to NFL Network. It's not like he's in there doing poker night.
Right.
He's in there trying to, give it his all. And to be honest, Nathaniel Hackett, guys, it took him 15 games and he was fired. I mean, if I walked into the organization and thought, oh my goodness, I just got traded here, I just signed a big extension, and the head coach turns out has no idea what he's doing. I'm a 10-year vet, 12-year vet, whatever, Russell Wilson. I'm going to step in and think this is a leadership void. I know what works. I've won in the NFL. I can see where he would say, I got to take over a little bit here. I get it.
How do you trust the Broncos based on the moves that they've made here? Whether it's drafting quarterbacks in recent years, whether it's hiring failed coaches, one failed coach after another, or maybe not even a failed coach, but just not giving guys an opportunity maybe to stick it out. And then Hackett, like you said, they hired Hackett because they thought he was going to bring Aaron Rodgers along.
Right, they didn't want Wilson.
Yeah, clearly they didn't bring Hackett because they thought he was a good head coach, because guess what? He's not a good head coach. We saw it in week 1 that he was overmatched as a head coach. I just don't like, Maggie, that there are facts. Let's deal with some facts.
Okay.
Russell Wilson was a great quarterback for the Seahawks. Maybe one of the more underrated quarterbacks that the league has ever seen, because even when he was at his peak, it was still others, whether it's Brady, whether it's Rodgers, whoever it may be. Wilson was kind of overlooked to a certain extent. So the facts are Wilson was a great player. The facts are Denver has been an organization that hasn't hired a good head coach. They've missed in the draft with quarterbacks. They went all in to get Russell Wilson for a reason. And now, because 1 year with an inept head coach and Russell Wilson is trying to find himself in a new surrounding,
right?
Now we're supposed to believe that Russell Wilson is a selfish idiot who can't play anymore, and he's the bad guy. I'm not buying it.
Also, a league high 24 guys on IL. Listen, I hate to put, on IR, hate to use injuries as an excuse, but literally they led the league. Literally they led the league. So you have that, and you have the inept head coach.
Good use of literally, by the way, because that word gets overused all the time by everybody and misused all the time.
No, people think it means the exact opposite of what it is. They think it means figuratively. I'm saying literally. They literally, the most, you can look it up, most players to go on IR, and they had an inept head coach who was totally in over his head. And so, listen, Russell Wilson wanted an office. Shoot the guy. What are you going to do?
By the way, I must say, Maggie, while we're on the topic, not to veer too much off here, but
that's fine.
Coming in here during the daytime hours, right? It's a new thing.
It's unique for you.
It's like a new place. I'm like, wow, actually, people work here. This is crazy. And then I go back to see you pre-show in your office, and I walk past Boomer and Gio and Evan and Craig and DA and everybody's office.
You want to get something off your chest here, Seth?
Well, I'm just maybe I don't have to say it at some point. Look, I know I'm just the overnight guy, but hey, it would be nice to have an office. I can't blame Russell Wilson. I get he won a Super Bowl and I didn't. However, it would be nice to have an office.
You want a whiteboard to start drawing up plays, like topics? First, I'm going to go to the Jets, then I'm going to go to the Mets, then I'm going to go to the Yankees. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Do you think that Russell Wilson's getting a raw deal, or do you think that this criticism is valid? Listen, as you said, Sal, it's easy to pile on Russell Wilson right now. So much so that another interesting tidbit that came out of this article is that Russ has hired a new PR firm.
Yeah, I saw that.
These are the kinds of things that don't help Russ, because people already think he's a bit phony, right? It's just a little too contrived. The package is a little too perfect, with the perfect wife and the perfect family, and he never makes a misstep. And now has a new publicist. I think that's something about Wilson where you're not getting like authenticity there. But I would just say this to people who don't think he's being authentic. 99% of athletes are not being authentic. We have no real idea. Unless you get a chance to see these guys or know them or spend some time with them, we don't have a clue. So you do have guys who are defending Russell Wilson, saying that he is a good leader. He's all about football. And what's his big crime? In the huddle, he gives some motivational messages like, hey, let's get this. Guys, believe. Like, it's all right. It might not be your cup of tea, but Sal, it's not like a reason to throw him out on the street.
Trying to stay loose on the flight to London, like hopping up and
the
down.
Calisthenics.
Yeah.
So he's a little extra.
All right.
He's a gym class diehard. We all went to high school with him. I don't know why they're trying that hard in gym class, but whatever.
The PR thing, though, does bother me because I just have a hard opinion on this forever, whether it's guys who come out with these... Oh, let me read this prepared statement. Yeah. I'm sorry I took PEDs. I didn't like, come on, dude. Just speak from the... It's not that difficult. So the fact that you would need somebody to fix your public image is a problem. Go out there, face the camera, put the mic on, whatever you need to do, and be yourself, regardless of whether they like it or not. That's why, and I know we'll get more to Aaron Rodgers, of course. That's why I respect Aaron Rodgers, because he doesn't give a crap what other people say. He's going to be himself. And if Russell Wilson is worried about his public image, then to me, that is a little bit of an issue.
Well, I hate to kill a guy over that, right? Because... First of all, we live in a day and age, and you and I know this just as well as athletes do. We don't compare ourselves to athletes, but we are in a front-facing public job.
Right.
Where we're being asked to be ourselves. But sometimes you say something the wrong way, you do a wrong move, you can get public blowback from that, and you and I would know 1/100th of what it would be like as opposed to a professional athlete. Sometimes you do need someone to help you shape your message. And I think not everyone has every gift, right? Like, not everyone is great at marketing themselves. You think Tom Brady is really sitting there doing the Instagram post by himself? Dude, he's got a team of people who have thought out this philosophy. It's just Russ doesn't have it just doesn't come across as authentic. Brady's team is much better than Wilson's team.
Okay, I could understand that, but then back to the point you were making before, where we don't know really about these athletes, right? We don't really know who they truly are.
Deshaun Watson's the biggest example of that. He was the darling of sports until we found out what was going on with the massage.
Well, Tiger Woods.
And Tiger Woods is even a better.
Okay, but then, and not to be insensitive, because with Watson and Woods, those are extreme examples, and I'm not being insensitive to what went on. But speaking for the sports fan, should we care? Like, do I care what Russell Wilson is doing as far as calisthenics go on a plane? Do I care if Russell Wilson is, his public image needs to be... No, I care if I'm a Broncos fan.
Right.
If he's winning games. This becomes an issue because the Broncos sucked this year.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So you look at it, the Yankees with Aroldis Chapman. Why go get Aroldis Chapman when he had issues with...
Terrible.
Yeah, right. But do you think the Yankee fans should be punished and not want to celebrate for a guy who could potentially close out a World Series game or whatever it may be? So as a sports fan, it's a very fine line, but I don't think we should care about what they're like as people because A, we don't know, and B, it's about what they do on the field.
Oh, that's interesting. See, I get it, and it is about what they do on the field, but you are, in some ways, they're asking you to invest as a sports fan, like financially.
Well, don't you think the organization, though?
You want to
invest in the right people.
The machine. Because without our dollars, without our eyeballs, without any of that, then Yankees can't pay Aroldis Chapman and Browns can't pay Deshaun Watson. So, I think it's okay for fans to be interested and to, have an opinion when they do something wrong. This is far away from Russell Wilson, by the way. Not Russell Wilson. This is that's like, he's worried about selling Subway sandwiches.
Not even
We're talking about
right.
real stuff with Chapman and with Watson. I didn't feel like I do want to know that because I am investing. I am giving my money, my hard-earned dollars, and my time. So I want to know, who am I exactly rooting for? I'm never going to really know, but if someone does something that breaks the law or might be in trouble with the law, I do want to know that.
Fair, but I mean, we could then play this game all night long. Okay, let's just pick athlete X, and what if he is out there cheating on his wife and disrespecting his family every night?
And we have no idea.
Yeah. Right. So am I I get what you're saying, and I've always and look, as a Falcons fan, I dealt with this front and center because it's something that never happened before, where the face of the franchise, a guy who put the franchise on a map to a certain extent, got thrown into prison for a dogfighting ring. Okay, so when you and if you watch what the Falcons have done since, they made a conscious effort to bring in high character people into their organization, even at the expense of winning games potentially, with not going out there and getting the most talented person, but looking for high character individuals, which is something that I have great respect for.
Sure.
But there's no way that you and I sitting here could know what every athlete is up to. And I don't think it's fair to ask the sports fan to care about that stuff, which just brings us back, I guess, to Russell Wilson. Like, I don't really think Denver Bronco fans give a crap about his public image.
Yeah.
They want him to just win games.
Yeah, they do just want him to win games, and it's so much easier to dunk on him if he's not winning games for all these little things. It also doesn't help you've got guys like Richard Sherman and former Legion of Boom members who just can't wait. Every opportunity they can get, they just dunk on Wilson. And it's like, it's funny and it's right in our faces, and I think it has not done Russell Wilson any favors, that's for sure. Okay, 855-212-4CBS, but Sal brings up a good point. Like, how much do you really want to know about these athletes? Again, it's hard to know who they really are, but do you want to know anything? Do you care at all? Are you invested at all in their personal lives? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, coming up, Sal mentioned he's a big Atlanta Falcons fan. What is Sal looking into his crystal ball?
Are you over the Bills yet, by the way?
I had to bring it up. We're 15 minutes into the show.
I'm looking at you. I'm looking right behind you. There's Bills jersey here. There's a Bills banner here. I have that same one, the Falcons one, in my office at home, of course, because I don't have an office here.
Which we're going to try to rectify that. I don't have the kind of power to get you an office, but I can levy a complaint on your behalf.
It's all right.
How to bring up the Bills.
No,
it's like I'm doing the show. It's like I'm doing the show.
You almost forgot the Jim Kelly football in a beautiful case right behind you.
That's who signed that. I see it right. You guys got great memorabilia in here. Maggie's got her jerseys. Perloff's got his jerseys and stuff. There's some cool stuff in here. But I'm looking at you doing the show, and I see the Bills jersey hanging in a frame. There's the Bills banner, and yes, the Jim Kelly football. And I just thought, I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah.
Are you over the Bills yet? I guess it's
no.
Yeah. Well, I'm not over the Falcons 28-3 Super Bowl either.
Which one? Do you want to talk about the Super Bowl from 1991, 92? Are you talking about the Music City Miracle? You want to talk 13 seconds? I could do this all day.
No, that's a good point.
The short answer is no, I'm not over any of them.
Me either.
And yet we press on. Yeah. 28-3, anytime these numbers are just out in the universe, it's just like all of a sudden Matt Ryan is trending. But we want to get your thoughts on the Falcons.
And before we break real quick, remember, too, because it goes back to what we were just talking about how these athletes are. The first experience I had as a fan rooting for a team in the Super Bowl, Falcons make the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos in 1998. I wake up all excited. Man of the Year, Eugene Robinson.
Yes.
Call with a prostitute. That's how I wake up to my Super Bowl morning as a fan. I'm like, what is going on here? That and 28-3, those are my two Super Bowl experiences.
Honestly, we could go head to head on fan misery.
Right.
We should do that. It's a real race to the bottom. Stu, you want to get in on this? Raider fan that you are?
Oh, God.
At least you've got
it's not much better.
Couple good memories. 855-212-4CBS. Stampter's a Jets fan. You could lead this conversation.
Do they even get in the conversation? I don't think they make
They're leading the conversation. 855-212-4227. Get Sal's thoughts on the Falcons. Your thoughts on how much you care about what you know about the athletes you root for, number one. And number two, Russell Wilson. Big piece here in The Athletic paints him as a real me-first guy. Is it too much? And are you expecting him and Sean Payton to actually do anything this year? 855-212-4CBS. We're across the country on our fantastic CBS Sports Radio affiliates. We're also streaming live, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Get involved in the chat. It's going to be a fun one today. Sal Licata in for Perloff. Don't move. We're back in just a moment.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
this Friday. Sal Licata from WFAN and SNY filling in for Perloff today.
I used to do the CBS Sports radio shows, Maggie, at home during the pandemic, the overnights on the weekend. I feel back home to a certain extent.
Well, we're glad to have you. Overnights during the pandemic.
That was brutal.
Those are some fun
And
shows.
I remember, I'm telling you, there were some times where I think I said it on the air, like, I can't do this anymore. I can't.
Did you have a nervous breakdown on the air?
Oh, many times, yes. The good thing is on the overnight, you could get away with those. If you do that during the day, you'd probably be fired. But on the overnight, I was having mental breakdown, nervous breakdown, you name it. It was happening.
If you do that on the overnight, no one's going to come for you. You do it during the day, they might send an ambulance or something to actually come get you.
Yeah, I always test the limits. Like, all right, let's see who's listening here on the overnight, whether it be my wife or somebody else. And you throw some things out there that I know would get me in trouble if people heard it. But you know what? We'll see. Find out. Huh?
And you're still here.
Here I am unscathed. That means nobody's listening, unfortunately.
Well, a lot of people listening today. 855-212-4CBS. Let's talk to a few of them. 855-212-4227. It wasn't an expose. How would you label this, Sal? New
hit piece on Russell Wilson.
It was a hit piece. It was it's not a profile. I'm not finding the word here. It was a bombshell. It was a mini bombshell.
But you mentioned it before, right? He said that the report is inaccurate.
He did tweet out that this was inaccurate and that he never tried. He didn't say everything was inaccurate. He said he never tried to get Pete Carroll or John Schneider fired. So he's pushing back on that. Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Jim's in South Carolina. Ooh, a Broncos fan. Jim, what's up?
Hey, Maggie. Hey, Sal.
Hi.
Great topic today. Yeah, Broncos, long time Bronco fan. So, do we know too much? Is that the topic, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the whole culture constitutes that, right? We have Facebook, we have Twitter, and Google, and it's everything.
Let's keep going. TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter.
Are you on any of those?
I'm on all of them.
Are you really?
And the show, by the way, follow us, Maggie and Perloff on TikTok, Maggie and Perloff on Instagram, Maggie and Perloff in your nightmares.
24 hours full talking work at the same time. So, has it made the sport better? I don't know. Has it made the sports people more informed?
No. Well, my question to you, Jim, as a Bronco fan, do you care what Russell Wilson's public image is, or do you care what he does behind closed doors, or do you care about the team winning games?
Well, I care because I do care to a point where it affects the team and it affects the product on the field.
There you go.
When you hear all the things about he has his own office and his own trainer and his own this and his own that, and he's Mr. Me guy, right? Like he's trying to compete with Aaron Rodgers, I guess, is to be the most selfish guy. That doesn't help you, right? But then when the reports come out and you hear that, it hurts you. And then when you lose and you're the worst offense in the league, that doesn't help your profile.
No, and that's where the pile-on's coming from.
It's a combination of the two. I think if they were winning, it wouldn't matter as much, but they're not.
Yeah, Jim, and I'm sure that's frustrating, but positive side of this, Sean Payton's in the building. And thank you for the call. And not only is Sean Payton in the building, you'll remember, Sal, when he did his first introductory press conference, Sean Payton was asked about Russell Wilson having his personal quarterback coach and all of that, and he goes, yeah, I'm not familiar with any of that, kind of implying that the buck's going to stop here. Like, no longer is he going to have his own guy. But to me, like, to Jim's point, if it becomes a problem in the locker room, but it doesn't really seem like it was. And to me, the guy wants his own quarterback coach and wants his own physical therapist. Who cares? Pick your battles here. If the guy feels comfortable with a quarterback coach or with a personal trainer, I'm not going to split hairs over that when I've already given him $150 million guaranteed. Just let him have his guy.
As an organization, I think you can look at it two ways, but I like the way you just phrased it there. As an organization, you should be doing all that you can to put your players in a position to succeed.
Right.
And in particular, in this case, where you invest this much draft capital, money, whatever, in a player, put him in a position to succeed. If he feels more comfortable. And there is a big difference between, let's say, Zach Wilson and Russell Wilson.
Yeah, right. Zach Wilson got his own quarterback coach.
Right, but he doesn't know his bleep from his elbow. Like, he doesn't know anything. So I would rather have an organization that helps Zach Wilson understand how to be a professional, how to be a winner, what it takes to be an NFL quarterback with veteran guys. Obviously, the Jets didn't do that. Wilson wanted his own quarterback coach, whatever it may be. But with Russell Wilson, he's already won a Super Bowl.
Right.
He knows what he's doing. So if he feels like, hey, I want this guy, then you know what? I think maybe you let him have that coach.
And I don't think that other players in the locker room would necessarily have a problem with it by and large, because nobody knows more that the quarterback is just a little bit different from everyone else on the team more than guys who are on the team. You don't think a defensive lineman understands that the quarterback might get some perks that I might not get. You don't think that the backup safety is going to understand, hey, maybe Russell Wilson gets his guy and I'm not going to get my guy. You don't have to explain that to these NFL guys. They know.
It's been going on forever.
And they don't care. I don't think by and large they care. Because, like, what was the thing Parcells used to say? I'm going to treat everyone equal, but I'm not, or I'm going to treat everyone fairly, but I'm not going to treat everyone the same, because Lawrence Taylor had different rules than everyone else. And I just think Russell Wilson has his own quarterback coach. He has an office. Who cares? Nathan is in Los Angeles. Nathan, what's up, dude?
Hey, good to talk to you guys again. Funny you should bring up Lawrence Taylor, because that was my point. See, I'm a lifelong Giant fan. When I grew up idolizing Lawrence Taylor, and it's probably good that I was probably too young to be aware of much of what Lawrence Taylor was doing off the field. But even knowing it, I still consider him an all-time great, an all-time hero. He won me 2 Super Bowls. You know, what can I say? I mean,
he's a great example for what we were talking about before.
Nathan, thank you for the call, bud.
Yeah, where it's not something like Russell Wilson. Obviously, this is another extreme with LT, but are Giant fans not supposed to? Well, what are you supposed to do? He was one of the greatest players ever to play the game, revolutionized the way the defenses play. Like Lawrence Taylor, one of the great all time, but
there's a lot there. I mean, listen, you don't have to buy his jersey. You don't have to. You can. There's a million things you can do to show, like, I'm not cool with this. You know, like, there's players on every single team we could go to where you're going to find great guys who do awesome things for the community, and you're going to find people that you don't like. It's up to each fan to determine what's their breaking point.
But if a Giant fan wants to go to MetLife Stadium and watch whoever's quarterbacking this year for the Giants and wear their 56 jersey, are we going to ridicule him for it? You know what I mean? If I wanted to wear my Michael Vick jersey, which I don't anymore, but, like, if I did, is that a bad thing?
Well, the thing about Vick is, I mean, at least on the outside, it seems like the guy really lived his apology.
Oh,
Not only did he go to jail for it,
I mean, goodness, he paid for it.
Became like a spokesperson for the ASPCA, has like never, Lawrence Taylor, I wouldn't say like really owned a lot of the stuff.
He also keeps making the same.
And he keeps making mistakes and stuff like that. But for Vic, like, what more could you ask for in terms of a guy did a terrible thing? It's awful. It was awful.
You ever have him on, by the way, one of your shows?
Vic? I have interviewed Vic, but not on CBS Sports Radio. Okay. I interviewed him at SI when he came out with his book.
He's like the white whale for me. I got to be able to get Michael Vick on at some point.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, you can get Vic.
I know. Well, I can't get anybody. I'm doing the overnight shows. I mean, that's the problem that I have.
The next time you fill in, we'll make sure.
2 guys that I want to interview, Vic and Matt Ryan. I mean, I love Piazza, too, but whatever. At this point, I'm like kind of over the Piazza thing.
Yeah, Piazza gets a lot of burn in New York.
Yeah, and I met him at I interrupted his breakfast one time over the summer. Well, not a flex. I was walking out of the hotel that I was at.
Oh, wait a minute, Sal. You didn't do the fan thing,
I did. I had to. No, I had to.
Sal.
So, what do you think here? And I see Piazza. It's just me, my wife. I'm holding my daughter. Piazza is having lunch with his daughter right here. There's nobody else around. I see him. We make eye contact. Now, remember, I do host a show on
We make eye contact.
We did. We make eye contact. And I was like, I have to say something. And I swear to you, I went, Mike, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to say I love you so much and thank you. Oh, yeah, no problem. I was like, I work with Todd Zeal. Oh, yeah, okay. He had no idea.
Oh, you dropped Todd Zeal.
Yeah,
nice.
I did. Then, this is the best part.
You might recognize me from SNY.
Yeah, right.
It's the Mets official television station. Does this face look familiar? Does this bald head look familiar?
Right, exactly. Sal Licata, you know who I am. So anyway,
do you have any idea who I am?
He didn't know who I was, whatever. Next thing, I had come back. I was actually filling in for the morning show the next weekend, right? Like I come back that next week.
For Boomer and Gio.
For Boomer and Gio. And I'm talking about this story with Jay Recco, telling the story. I checked my DMs. Piazza was listening. DM me on Twitter, said, thanks for the shout out. My daughter really got a kick out of it. Nice to meet you, whatever it was.
Look at you.
Can you believe that? Big Mike.
Terrible, terrible story to tell. Because now you've empowered every person who sees an athlete in public to go up to them, interrupt their breakfast because they might get to be friends now with Piazza.
It was a unique situation.
I think it's a case by case.
Right.
They made eye contact.
I did eye contact. He's looking around. His eyes have to go somewhere.
It was breakfast. It's a leisurely time of the day.
Nobody there, just him and his
That was my next. It wasn't crowded.
Not nobody there. Him and his daughter.
I know.
But you're holding your daughter. That's a good.
Makes him more sensitive, less likely to be a sycophant.
I had to say something, and plus, that's what Chertoff used to call me for friends. I said, "You're a sycophant. You're Mike sycophant." Anyway, it was. What am I am on the Fan and on SNY. It's not like I'm just some sick fan say, "Hey, can you sign this napkin for me?"
Actually, I really don't have a leg to stand on because I did stop 2 Yankees in the last 6 months. But I didn't say that I was a fan. I just said, hey, like, DJ LeMahieu, I know who you are. Like,
did you introduce yourself?
No, I had a totally awkward encounter with him. But it went better with Jameson Taillon. I said, hey, I work for the station that does your games on the radio. And he's like, oh, the Fan. I was like, yeah, I work at the Fan. And I was like, well, good talk. I got to get going. Big gulps, huh? Good luck to you with all that calf muzzle, whatever it was, probably fake. Good.
Ack, you ever had an awkward encounter here?
Oh, my God, Ack.
Piazza.
It was Piazza, too?
Yeah.
Where?
It was, and now, with all due respect, it was during batting practice.
Okay.
But Ed Coleman, who covered the Mets for a long time for WFA, I'm standing there talking to Ed as we're standing around the batting cage at batting practice, and Piazza walks over. And so I didn't even say anything because you respect the space.
And the batting cage is like the no-go for reporters.
Can't
go there.
No, we were allowed there at the time, and so I'm just talking with Ed, and Piazza comes over. He starts talking with Ed, and Ed very nicely says, "Hey, Mike, this is Rich Ackerman. He works at the station with me. Good guy, yada yada." And so
did you shake his hand?
I go so Piazza holds out his hand. He nice to meet you. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And then I go to extend my hand, and he looks the other way. And I'm like, hey, what was that?
He gave you the no-look handshake.
Yes. And I'm like, look, hey, you're going to go that far. Let's seal the deal.
I was having anxiety when you told me that story because I thought you were going to say you didn't shake his hand, and I was going to flip out on you.
Oh, no, I went to shake, and he turned away. And I'm like, hey.
Ackerman all of a sudden just bows.
Ack gives the elbow. First time I've ever met. Oh, my God, Rich Ackerman. Hi, I'm the new intern. Sal.
Sit down.
Shut up there, Chief. He gives me the elbow. All right, sit down and shut up. The best interns are seen, not heard.
That's right.
I got them all, Ack.
How about this? Nick in Texas is in the chat. He said that's exactly what he did with Donovan McNabb. Ate lunch next to him and had him sign my napkin when I lived in Phoenix. Nick in the best. We want your awkward athlete encounters.
I think I've got more too, people. Maggie. How long do we got here? I got more of those on the other side of the break.
Gonna be honest, Sal, I'm not that shocked. Came up to Piazza. I love you. I'm also on the station.
I think I started with I love you. Yeah. I love you more than my wife. Don't tell her she's right there.
You start with I love you, though. You have nowhere else to go after that.
I know. I went all in.
You know what, though? Honestly, better to start that I love you than build to I love you. Like, just get all your crazy out.
There you go. That's fair.
All right. We want your awkward athlete encounters. What happened? You and a famous person. Let us know. Also, we will get to Sal's very strong opinion about Lamar Jackson.
Do I have a strong opinion about Lamar Jackson?
Yes.
No, I guess I do.
You have a strong opinion about everything.
Oh, that is true.
Soda.
I hate it. Again. Oh, wait, are we sponsored? I love it. Yeah.
All right, we got that to do. Also, one team has a massive decision, and not only quarterback, but running back as well. We'll talk about that after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flag.
Russell Wilson is now the coach he wanted, but not exactly how he expected it to happen. Wilson reportedly pushed for the firings of Pete Carroll and GM John Schneider last year and was hoping the team would bring in Sean Payton. Instead, they dealt Wilson for a haul and made the playoffs without him. The 34-year-old Wilson had a terrible year and is now teamed with Payton in Denver, though he denies the report. The Hawks and Quinn Snyder reportedly making progress toward a deal to make the 56-year-old the next head coach of the team. Things haven't worked for the Clippers as planned since the arrivals of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but they ended the first half on a high note and made some moves to gear up for the postseason, signing Russell Westbrook and also acquiring Eric Gordon. Head coach Ty Lue likes the veteran who can help defensively.
EG's more of a defender. Like, if you have you can't have three guards that score the basketball, not, great defenders. And so EG's a good defender, so he can take some of that pressure off guard and some of the better players on the floor.
The Bucks go for their 13th straight against the Heat. Giannis Antetokounmpo is questionable, though, with a wrist injury. Chris Middleton also uncertain of playing tonight. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is DA. CBS Sports Radio has moved to SiriusXM Channel 158. Or listen to us on your local affiliate. Find your station at Odyssey.com/stations.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Where you can ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply check out the link, cbssportsradio.com/askthepros, or tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. It is the Maggie and Perloff show. Sal Licata from WFAN and SNY sitting in for Perloff, who has taken his girls up to the ski slopes. Ironically, Perloff does not ski, so he's just hanging in the lodge.
He seems like he might be an awkward skier. I don't really know much about him, but just first look, I know I'm judging.
So people judge Perloff because they see the glasses, and he went to Dartmouth, and he's got the sort of nerdy vibe. He's always coming with the stats and against the grain. Excellent athlete.
Really?
Was a basketball player at Dartmouth on the JV team and is an incredibly coordinated person.
Interesting.
I know. Shocked us all.
Skiing can be tough for anybody. Not to say that I could do it because I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'd get hurt doing that.
You got to start when you're like 3.
Can I ask you a quick question before we get into the next topic here? Because I just got a DM about it.
Is this Piazza again? Sliding into your DMs? Sal flexing that he's got a relationship with Mike Piazza, the Hall of Famer?
So, no, like the breaks, I know we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Are we on YouTube during the break?
Hell yeah.
What the hell? Somebody's got to warn me.
Why? What are you?
I'm eating a protein bar. I'm getting texts. Oh, how's my man doing? I see you munching on the food. I'm like, I haven't eaten a thing today. I forgot to eat. Thank goodness I found a protein bar on me.
You want us to order pizza for you?
No, thank you. You with pizza. No, I don't have any issues.
I'll bite your hand off.
Oh, didn't you try to have the...
I ate it.
Yeah, the whole pizza?
Whole pizza in 2 hours.
And you got sick afterward, did you not?
I did puke in the Mike Francesa studio.
There you go. This is what I'm trying to avoid.
After the pizza went down and I won the bet.
Still counts.
Still counts. Thank you, Stu.
I love it.
Yes, we are on during the break. So youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. People try to guess all the time what I'm eating during the breaks. It's fun.
I didn't know that.
We also, across the country, all of our amazing CBS Sports Radio affiliates, we are on Sirius XM channel 158. We're on the free Odyssey app, which is just crystal clear.
You ever see the clip of Mike one time when, because the show used to be on Yes Friend? No, Maggie. No, but there was another one. This one's even better, I think. There was Mike's coming back from break, and and I know this because I used to be behind the scenes. I used to run the board, right?
Yes.
So I would know the timing of it.
Yeah.
You have to work with the radio controls it, and then I would tell the Yes people, okay, we're doing 4-minute break.
Yep.
So somehow, and I was not there for this one, I just watched it. So somehow there was a miscommunication, and TV came back earlier. And Mike was about to dive into a big ice cream sundae thing that he had in front of him. He looked up.
Stu knows.
And he looked up, caught himself on TV, and was like, "Oh crap!" and tried to cover it up.
Well,
and I get why.
You want to know what I heard about that?
What?
Well, that maybe a certain member of his family might have been monitoring what he was eating and drinking during the break.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I mean. Who cares what the reason is, right? Whatever it may be, but you're like, oh, I'm caught.
Amateur move by someone who's in the Radio Hall of Fame. Because you can't eat ice cream during a break unless you're really going to house it. During the break, you had a protein bar. I, have had a variety of things that but never something that's going to melt.
That is true because that you got to eat.
And it's all in the studio. I mean,
aside from the pizza that you had for the for the contest or the bet or whatever, I have a hard time eating anything other than very light, clean stuff before any show.
Yeah.
How could you? Especially on the overnight. I can't. What do you think? I'm going to eat 3 slices of pizza and a chicken parm before an overnight. I'll do it on the weekend before an overnight show. I'll be asleep, which I almost am anyway.
I know. I can't eat a lot before a show or else I just want to go night-night.
You eat during? 3 to 6 is a tough...
So, yeah, I've had the challenge of, you have to sort of peak in the afternoon. Of course, on the West Coast, we're on a little bit earlier, just in lunchtime. But, yeah, I've had to figure out what's the optimization here. I'm like Russell Wilson. Instead of doing calisthenics in the aisle on the way to London, I am figuring out, when do I Eat the Kind bar.
All right. And you have an office like Russell Wilson. Although you share it with Perloff.
And I stash everything there.
Yeah, that's great.
Including the Advice Duck. Because it's Friday, Advice Duck is back, guys. There's still time to get your question in for the Advice Duck. Of course, you guys know this is when I ceased to be Maggie Gray, and I turned into the most wise person / duck in all of radio.
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be my first experience with it.
Well.
And by the way, Maggie, you and I go way back. I was thinking about this as I was taking the train in today because, well, two reasons. One, I forgot my wedding ring, and I actually feel naked. And on the way in, I was like, oh, my God, I forgot.
You're giving people on the live stream the wrong idea.
Yeah, well, it made me exactly right. Well, what's going on there? Don't read into it. It's like, oh, who unfollowed on Instagram? Oh, Russell Wilson unfollowed the Broncos. No, so I forgot it. And then it just made me think of, and I've told you the story plenty of times before. First time we ever worked together, I was doing an overnight show, New Year's Eve. This was 2009, I want to say, into 10. I could be off on that, but that's my guess.
Remember it like it was yesterday.
You were doing the updates, and my girlfriend at the time was like, who's that? Because I had her listen on, whatever. Who's that girl doing updates? And I'm like, will you leave me alone? Like, I'm just trying to do a show here.
Also, can I just peel back the curtain? You were so nervous, and I get it now. Because I was nervous too, and I'm always nervous going on the air, but you were by yourself. We're overnight. It's New Year's Eve. It's a tough shift.
And this maybe you didn't know, but I had been on the air 3 years prior. I did a couple shows. I did one Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. That was like my first on-air break.
Yeah.
And then something happened where I went on the air once with Mike and Chris and said something that ticked some of the bosses off.
Yeah.
And I was not able to get another opportunity until...
Oh, that's why you were so nervous.
I was extra nervous. I would be nervous anyway in that spot. I get nervous now, but I was extra nervous that particular night.
That's so funny because I was also just peeing my pants that night. I had no idea what I was doing. And but Sal, you were great. You made me feel comfortable. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Phil is in Pennsylvania. He's got a story about Muhammad Ali. We're talking about celebrity and athlete encounters because Sal really botched one with Mike Piazza, but it ended up being okay in the end. What's up, Phil?
Hey, Maggie. Hey, Sal. How you doing today?
Hi.
This is not actually my story. This is a story about my dad and my brother. They flew into Louisville, to go see Penn State play, and they're outside the airport, and limousine pulls up, and out walks the Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
My dad, stopped him and said hi, and said, "Son, this is the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali." So, he has to take a picture, and my dad had a friend take a picture of him, and they were, squaring up like boxers do, took a picture of it. Anyway, my dad got the picture. He got it, developed everything like that. The picture was completely blurry and offset, and you couldn't even tell that it was him. I mean, that's something you blow up and put in the basement and you keep forever, but it was just completely botched. It was horrible.
Oh, Phil, that is a bummer. But, I mean, at least you get the story of meeting Ali. Got to be honest, I've got a very similar story.
With?
Muhammad Ali.
Oh, wow.
So when I worked at Sports Illustrated, they started giving out a Muhammad Ali award every year with someone who displayed great sportsmanship. And so, giving back to the community and a lot of different characteristics. And we flew to Louisville and did this whole thing. And Muhammad Ali was later in his life where he was in a wheelchair and he wasn't speaking at the time. But you got to line up basically. And they brought you behind a curtained off area, 2 by 2. And you got to sit on either side of Muhammad Ali, and it was like taking a picture with a head of state. That's how I felt. It was this is as close as I'm going to get to take a picture with a president or a royalty or something like that. And a colleague of mine is on one side, I'm on the other. We get to take a photo with Muhammad Ali, tell him, champ, thank you, and hello. He wasn't speaking at the time. Never got the photo.
Oh,
don't have it. I've tried. My colleague tried. We have no idea. Could not get the photo.
Oh.
And so, just like Phil and Phil's brother, I guess.
It's out there somewhere.
I just don't have a photo of me and Muhammad Ali. I know.
That's a bad one. Because there are certain people, it's whatever. But Muhammad Ali.
I know. Just even being in his presence, you could feel.
Right.
I'm
trying to think if I have that feeling with anybody before. I can't think of one of that magnitude.
Let's go to Christina, who's in Toronto. Christina, who'd you meet?
Doug Gilmore.
How'd that happen?
Well, I was at a club downtown, RPM, downtown Toronto, and he was just standing at the bar. And my brother is a huge Doug Gilmore fan. And so I said to him, I said, can I get your autograph for my brother? And he wrote it down on a napkin, and my brother still has it to this day.
Wow, the killer. That's so cool, Christina. I didn't mean to cut her off.
Yeah, it happens. I'm just starting to think
was
now.
Was he alone? We needed more details on that.
Dougie Gilmore. I'm just starting to think now of all these celebrities that I've met in the different spots. It is a lot. One, I'm going to give you two quick ones.
Okay, we've got a minute.
Okay, I'll give you one quick one.
Yeah.
Alexei Kovalov at a bowling alley. And he signed my receipt. This is in Westchester. I guess a lot of the Rangers used to live up there.
Yeah.
And he signed my receipt.
North of New York. Yep.
Another one, a better one, Jake Gyllenhaal. I saw him at a Watch the Throne concert. And I was like, yo, and I was hammered. I don't even like Jake Gyllenhaal. I was like, yo, Jake, you mind if we get a picture? And he wouldn't do it. And I hate his guts to this day. Wouldn't do it.
Wait, hold on. How inebriated were you?
Enough to go down and introduce myself. But not enough to make a fool of myself, I don't think.
You're like, Donnie Darko.
Yeah. I didn't even know who he was, but I couldn't care less. Hey, Jake, you mind taking a picture? For social media? Wouldn't do it. And ever since, I hated him.
Man.
Screw you, Jake Gyllenhaal. Who do you think you are?
It's his fault. 855-212-4CBS. More Maggie Perloff. Salicata's in for Perloff today. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Try to think about a dinner night. Seltzer water with bits of hot dog from our attempt at having hot dog straws.
Yeah.
If I'm a Packers fan, I'm not nervous. I'm just getting 12 hot dog straws. I'm drinking 12 beers. You're hammered on hot dog beer. Christian Watson could be Devontae Adams.
If you're hammered on hot dog beer, can that please be our show motto?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the one hammered on hot dog beer. Someone who would never drink beer out of a hot dog because he doesn't drink beer and he doesn't eat hot dogs is Tom Brady. Would he drink, like, I don't know, protein shake through a yogurt? I'm not sure. I'm doing this off the top of my head.
Protein shake through a yogurt.
I don't know.
Here are Maggie and Perloff.
What up? Welcome to the show. It's Friday. You made it to the end of the week. Sal Licata sitting in for Perloff today, although I just got an update. Perloff has attempted skiing for the first time in his entire life. And he said he'll tell us about it on Monday.
Ooh,
all right.
There's a tease. Yeah.
There you go. Is he going to come in like in a neck brace? I don't know. We're going to find out. Anyway, Sal Licata, WFAN and SNY, good enough to sit in for Perloff today. And listen, you know this because you're on in New York. Now, this is the one topic that no one can get away from, but it's all across the country, is Aaron Rodgers. Because, of course, the Jets fans think they're getting Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay appears to be sending, I think, some mixed messages, Sal. You know,
I don't know what to believe with these reports.
It's hard because on the one hand, you'll have Tom Pelissero from NFL Network who will say, you know, yes, the Packers want Rodgers back if he's all in, but he's got to be all in. It's like, well, if you're questioning a guy who's making $60 million and who presumably wants to win another Super Bowl, if you're questioning whether he's all in, you're telling me all I need to know with just that question.
And do we think because he goes on a darkness retreat in the offseason that he's not all in? Like, why would I? Because I saw some of that as well.
Yeah.
Why? What's the difference? So if somebody goes to the Bahamas for 10 days or Hawaii, they're not all in? It's the offseason. He can do whatever he wants.
Well, because he didn't go to the OTAs. Didn't want to do any offseason
Who does?
work. Well, especially when you got some young guys on the roster, you're trying to work them in. Now, the one thing, I don't think that going on a darkness retreat doesn't mean that he wants to play football. But what I do think going on a darkness retreat means is that you are obviously looking for something very deep and profound in your life. And you might feel like you're almost out of places to turn. The darkness retreat to me seems kind of extreme, right? Like This is beyond just talking to a therapist and doing, you know, even ayahuasca seems kind of extreme, quite frankly. But like, he's looking for something. And it's not that you can't play football while you're still looking for something. It's just, what's your priority now? Is your priority now to figure out what's going on in your life?
Billy boy, oh, Billy boy. I hope he one day wakes up and finds whatever it is you're looking for. Here is a nice piece of...
Billy
that's what
Madison,
you think of.
very nice.
So I understand what you're saying, Maggie, but don't you think, and it's a level of like I'll never get to that level to where I've made $60 million a year or whatever it may be, right? His level of fame, his level of success.
Oh, there's still time for you, Sal.
I feel, right. I feel like sometimes people that get to that's why like we normal people think that celebrities are weird for the way that they act or different things that they do. Rodgers, who's dated celebrities in Hollywood, whatever it may be, all right, he does things that aren't normal to you or I maybe, and maybe he is looking for something more profound or deeper, but I feel like there's a different level of life that maybe is not relatable to us because we don't, like, we're chasing whatever, right? You want to make more money or have better hours, whatever it may be, trying to get through the day, trying to raise your kids the right way and figure out what to do at school. He's already won. Like, those things are all over. What's the next challenge? What's going to push him? And maybe that's what he's trying to do.
Well, I do think that doing things like this, and it's not just for famous people, it's not just for rich people. Like, we've seen some of the testimonials, well, maybe they're rich, I don't know, but it's not just for famous people. There's been testimonials of people on this website where he went to dark cave retreats or whatever, dark sky, and they seem, I didn't recognize any of them, but it does show two things. It shows you have, like, the luxury of time, which a lot of people don't have. That's not relatable to a lot of people. Hey, you can fly to Southern Oregon and go in the dark for 4 days.
The middle of nowhere, right. It'd be great to be able to do that.
It kind of feels like a little luxurious, a little self-indulgent. But to me, after reading a lot about it, I think it's kind of the opposite. I mean, people are really looking for something because they have major unanswered questions in their life, whether it be trauma or some other things. At least that's how it comes off from the website. Now, again, they're trying to sell you on coming here using their retreat, so maybe they're using the most extreme example.
Okay, but again, what does that have to do? And I get why we in the media are making much about it, because it's unique.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my God, what's wrong with this guy? But why? And I love his response. Like, he says, okay, I'm going on a darkness retreat, and everybody's like, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers going on a darkness. Oh, do you believe that? What a loser he is. And he's like, why is everybody freaking out? I'm doing me. Like, I'm allowed, for whatever reason it may be, he's doing it. I couldn't care less. And from a Jets, Packers, whoever wants him standpoint,
Raiders,
he's still a great quarterback. Like, that's, again, similar to Russell Wilson. I don't care if he wants an office or what he's doing, as long as it doesn't impact the team in a negative way. Same with Aaron Rodgers. And I don't believe that his retreats or his hallucinogens or whatever it is that he's doing are going to impact whatever team he goes to in a negative way.
It is a little crazy, though, to think that he would emerge from this darkness retreat and go, the Jets. Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen the light. It's the Jets, Jets. That seems a little bit crazy, but listen, we don't know what he's going to say. And the one part about it is you just also don't know how long he wants to play for. And that's what this whole hang-up is. And I think that's where the Packers or the Jets or the Raiders or whoever is really going to have a tough time, because it's a lot of money. It's going to be draft picks, and you don't know how long you have them for.
That's why I think it's a unique circumstance where the Jets need to take advantage of this opportunity. Really anybody, but I don't think the Raiders are there. I don't think the Raiders are real. I know everybody keeps bringing them up. I can't see it. I don't care about Devontae Adams. I'm not connecting the dots. If you do the math and go with McDaniels there, if he's given a real opportunity and ownership trusts him and he says, I'm going to do it my way this time because this is his last opportunity. If I'm him, I'm not going for a 40-year-old quarterback or whatever it is with Rodgers on a 2-year deal with questions. So to me, that's not the right fit. The Jets are. They have the money to spend on that position because they have younger players on rookie contracts that are succeeding in other spots. They clearly have a need at quarterback. Hackett is now there. They brought him in. To me, that's the perfect fit, assuming that the Packers only do trade him to the AFC.
I do agree with you about the Raiders. I don't see it, and I also don't see... Well, listen, I think McDaniels might be desperate enough, unless Mark Davis, the owner, comes down and is just like, we're getting Rodgers, right? And medals or whatever. I don't see it. And you just had their GM, Dave Ziegler, who came out a couple days ago on the Barstool podcast he was on and said, we might not have the immediate answer at quarterback this year. It's like, well, of course Rodgers is an immediate answer. You would never portray this a different way if you were really gunning for Rodgers.
But I believe
he would be your immediate answer.
Correct. And I believe they're trying to build something there. So I think it's people trying to connect the dots. But if you look at it, step back and look at McDaniels knowing that this is his last opportunity, to your point, unless the owner meddles and says, no, we want to get this quarterback. And even then, I look at the Jets as a team who is in the conversation to go to a championship game, to go to a Super Bowl if Rodgers is there. I do not look at the Raiders in that regard. So I don't, and Rodgers not stupid. He seems to be pretty well versed on what was going on with the Jets. I don't know how he feels about the Raiders other than Adams, but I don't think that that's an option. I think if he gets traded, I really do feel if it's the AFC and they said AFC, I think the Jets are the fit.
Well, I went in my own darkness retreat.
How was that?
It was here, and it was during a commercial break, and I wrapped a scarf around my head, and we turned the lights down, and I had a vision, Sal.
And?
The Miami Dolphins. No one's talking about it. They don't have the draft capital this year, but you wouldn't trade Rodgers till after the draft anyway. So we're talking about 2024 draft picks that would kick in for Aaron Rodgers. It's in the AFC. Tua's health is a total question mark. You've got an owner who clearly is all in, back channeling with Tom Brady all those years to even get them in trouble. And I think the Dolphins are still a possibility. Now, the other thing, though, about the Jets, you had Derek Carr in the building. You had him in the building, and you let him leave. And I think that's going to be something the Jets will soon regret, and will regret for a very long time. I know we can't play in cold weather, whatever. You can change that. Cold weather is a mindset. Tom Brady used to wear a scuba suit underneath his uniform.
I don't know, Maggie. It was windy as hell and cold out there today walking in. My mind could not get right. I was freezing.
Wait, Sal, if I was paying you $45 million to come and do this show, do you think you'd be skipping into the studio?
Well, probably, yeah.
You'd come in a shorts and a T-shirt.
Well, I was going to, but I wasn't sure what bosses were here today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What, is there a dress code here?
I was going to text you. I think there is. Spike in today. I want to wear my gym shorts or sweats, but didn't want to take the chance working the daytime hours. No, but all right, cold is a mindset, fine. I do like what you're saying, though, two things.
Rodgers is not a sure thing. They should have went with Carr.
See, I don't like that. I don't think that Carr is very good. I think he's overrated, and to me, he puts the Jets just in a conversation with the postseason, where they'll be a playoff team but can never get over the hump in the AFC. I get why they would want him or why fans would want him. I don't look at him as that type of player. But I love what you said about Miami, because I do think that's the only other possibility, and that comes down to, does Miami like Tua enough or no? Because Miami should be all in on Aaron Rodgers.
Totally.
And they could be in that conversation.
It's not even about liking Tua. It's like Tua could get hit in week one, and all of a sudden now Teddy Bridgewater or whoever.
Or trust Tua. Maybe that's a better word, trust Tua. You could like Tua, and he did some great things this year when healthy, but there's that concern. And by the way, even if they do like and trust Tua, there's still a better option out there right now that could get them to a Super Bowl. The same thing that I say about the Jets, I would say about the Dolphins. That's the one, and you want to do these shows on The Fan, talking about it from a local perspective. We're talking about what Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. The one team that would worry me would be the Miami Dolphins, because I think they have what Rodgers would want. It's just a matter if they are willing to go all in for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, listen, Tyreek Hill already chose the Dolphins. It was like, what do you want? The Chiefs said, we'll trade you to the Jets, we'll trade you to the Dolphins. And he said, and went to Miami.
Right, but the difference is obviously the Jets don't have a quarterback, where at least Miami could have a quarterback with Tua. That's the difference. So they have to, as an organization, decide if they want Tua or if they want Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, we know the Jets need Rodgers.
Well, we were talking with Sal about his embarrassing encounter with Mike Piazza that ended up having a happy ending.
Yeah,
with Mike
it wasn't
Piazza
that bad. It was, yeah.
I'm sorry, I editorialized that it was embarrassing.
Yeah, I know you keep saying it wasn't that bad.
It was the best day of Sal's life that I'm calling embarrassing.
It was close. Yeah.
It was dicey there for a second. But kick save and a beauty that you were hosting the WFN morning show the next day. Yeah. We've asked you for some of your awkward celebrity or athlete encounters, and you guys are delivering. Let's go to Nate, who's in Pennsylvania. This is a big one. Nate, who'd you meet?
Hey. Once again, sorry, I actually didn't meet him. It was my friend's dad. But Dave Chappelle, he got off work. He works at the post office. He was going into Best Buy. He saw a guy step out on the curb in Best Buy, light up a cigarette, and was getting closer to him. He thought, man, that's Dave Chappelle. They went to get a picture with him or something, and so kind of nervously he walked up and stood there by him and made eye contact and said, Dave Chappelle? And Dave Chappelle looked at him and I said, mailman? Before he could say anything else, a car pulled up, he hopped in it, and away he went. And so no picture was taken.
Oh, man. Funny story, though. Thanks for calling Dave Chappelle. Mailman? That's such a good encounter. Also, we do know that Chappelle does smoke quite a bit. How about Shane, who's in Oregon's got a good one. What's up, Shane?
Not much. Thanks for taking the call.
You got it.
I was in at a fatherhood conference in December, and Ben Roethlisberger happened to be there. I guess he's starting the camp for fathers and stuff. And I'm a big Birds fan, go Birds. And I decided to walk over. I said, just like, hey, right state, wrong team. But enjoyed watching you play. And hey, can I get a picture with you later? I want to respect your space and everything. He's like, yeah, sure, absolutely. And so the whole conference, like, he just sort of felt like he was avoiding me. And I have a cousin who is a big Steelers fan, huge Steelers fan, and I thought, I'd like to go get a football and have him sign it for my cousin, but I wanted to ask him permission, but I couldn't get permission. So
because he was giving you the oopsie-doop. That's what he was doing.
This is awkward.
Yeah, he was actively avoiding you, Shane.
So I decided to ask for forgiveness. So during the break, I ran into town, grabbed the football. I didn't want to go too much, so I didn't buy the Duke football. I just bought a regular football. And I finally caught him, and he was standing there with his wife, Ashley. I'm like, hey, can I get that photo, please? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And Ashley takes the photo. And then I whip out. I said, one more thing. Can you sign this football for my cousin?
Shane, you're breaking every rule in the book right now.
I'm cringing listening to this.
He did it, and then just turned his back and walked away.
Oh.
It was like, oh. But the cool thing was that my cousin was so excited about it that
it made it worth it.
Yeah, made it worth it. And you're never going to see Roethlisberger again. Shane, thank you for the phone call. Every no in the book.
That's a bad one.
But he ultimately got the football.
And nowadays, don't you think it's changed celebrity encounters now where most people, it's not about autographs anymore, I wouldn't think.
No, it's about photos.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, one just hit me. I can't even believe I didn't share this one with you before.
Go.
With my nephew, who loves hockey, 7-year-old, 8-year-old at the time, taking him to one of his first games at the Garden. It was like his second game at the Garden, but I'm going through the whole experience. I know where the players come in. He's sitting there. He's wearing his Shesterkin jersey that I just got for him that night to go to the game. I got him a Shesterkin jersey.
Wow.
This is before Igor became big.
You staked out the 33rd and 8th?
Well, yeah, right. So I'm like, I remember I met Adam Graves here in '94. I'm like, all right, let's go. So now I don't know these players anymore. I do now because I get into it from my nephew. But at the time, this was one of the first games of the year. And there were other people there who were like, there's this guy and that guy. Yeah. So I'm listening to what they're saying. Some guy's like, oh, that's Trouba.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, here comes Trouba. I see the guy walking toward us on the street or whatever. And I'm yelling at him, yo, Jacob, Trouba, you the man. Can you sign this? No, can you take a picture? We didn't have anything to sign. Can you take a picture with my nephew, whatever? Takes the picture, couldn't be nice. So I'm like, Trouba, thank you, you're the man. Walks away. My nephew goes, Uncle Sal, that was Shesterkin. I'm like, why'd you tell me? You made me embarrass myself.
Also, Sal, way to come in with the subtlety.
Yeah, I know.
Not like, sir, would you mind?
Oh, no.
Like, Trouba from 2
I tell him,
away.
you gotta, if you're not loud, you ain't getting anything. You gotta let them know. And then I'm like, what'd you tell me? I'm going to the other guy. What'd you say Trouba before? He goes, oh, no, I meant he just drove in and parked.
Yeah, you can't trust anybody, Sal.
Yeah. How embarrassing is that? I thought Igor Shesterkin, one of the more famous faces in New York hockey, certainly now, was Jacob Trouba.
Well, also, the fun part is he's definitely taking that photo when he goes into the dressing room, goes right to Igor and is like, I just took a picture. Or Igor goes to Trouba, excuse me, goes to take a picture. I just posed for you, like when guys sign autographs for each other, like when they get mistaken.
I don't know if he understood my English. I don't know if he had his earbuds in, but he was looking at me like, yeah, man, whatever. Meanwhile, he sees my nephew with a Shesterkin jersey.
Yeah.
So he took the picture. He was ready to sign it. We didn't have a mark. He took the picture, and he's looking at me like, you idiot. All he probably understands, if anything, was Trouba. Trouba. But how does my nephew not say something?
He's 7 years old, Sal. You're a full-grown man.
Uncle Sal, that was Shesterkin. You could have told me that 2 seconds ago.
That would be the worst.
That's a bad one.
Is saying to somebody, are you somebody else? Like right. Boomer and Phil Simms always get mixed up for each other.
I used to get that for Carton and Tierney a couple of times. It bothered me.
Well, you guys are bald men.
Yeah, but that's
yelling
discrimination.
On the radio.
I hate that. Right. We don't all look the same.
Well, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Maybe. See you guys on the phones. Get back to your awkward celebrity encounters in just a moment. But we mentioned this big article that came out about Russell Wilson and what went wrong in Seattle and now what went wrong in Denver in his first year. Kalyn, one of the authors of that article, she's going to join us next. get her take on what's going on with Russell Wilson. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff. Salicata in for Perloff today on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Sal Licata from WFAN filling in for Perloff today, who we found out did try skiing for the first time in his life. We'll get the full update from that on Monday. But of course, Sal, biggest topic in the sports world today is this big piece in The Athletic about Russell Wilson. The title, Russell Wilson's first year with the Broncos, too much influence, too few wins in disorganized disaster. One of the authors of that article is Kalyn Kahler. She's a senior NFL writer for The Athletic, and she joins us now. Hey, Kalyn, thanks so much for doing this today.
Hey, Maggie. Long time no talk.
I know. Kalyn and I work together back in Sports Illustrated. Sal Licata's in with me today. All right, Kalyn, the biggest pull out of your article that's getting a lot of play is that before Russell Wilson was traded to the Broncos, that he tried to get Pete Carroll and John Schneider, the coach and general manager, fired from the Seahawks. Can you flesh this out? And how direct was this request? Was it a him or me? What more can you tell us about what's making the big headlines today?
That's pretty much what we have written is pretty much exactly what we could report. Obviously, as a reporter yourself, you kind of understand what goes on there. So that's what we have written, which is Wilson asked Seahawks ownership to fire both John and Pete, is pretty much all I can say there. However, we all know the timeline of how these things shake out, right? Like a year before, his agent had put out the list of trade destinations, one of which was New Orleans, who at the time was coached by Sean Payton, who is now his head coach in Denver. And then, that season went by, and it was pretty clear things were probably going to end. And then he asked ownership for his wishes, which was for Pete and John to be fired. And then that year at the Combine, so that was in February when he made his ask. And then at the Combine that year, so, a few weeks later, that is when the trade was, first seriously discussed between the two teams. And then he ends up being traded. So, it kind of explains a lot to how things ended with him in Seattle. But, I feel like even if he hadn't made this ask, he was probably going to get traded anyways, because there was just, a lot before that kind of spelled out the end for him there. But I think the second half of our story, which was about how, his Denver, the most disappointing season probably in Broncos franchise history, I think our reporting on that part was actually really interesting to me. And I totally understand why the Seattle part is making the headlines. But I think the part, that we reported about why things were so bad in Denver, which is, as one coach put it, Russell had too much influence, and that's because Hackett allowed him to have influence. I think that really says it all. He got what he didn't have and what he wanted in Seattle, he ended up getting in Denver. He had an office. He had his own support staff in the building most days of the week. They had pretty much unlimited access. His quarterback coach could not be in staff meetings or offensive meetings, but he was around. He was part of Russell's Tuesday meetings on the off days with just the offensive players. He was at practice all the time. Russell had a lot of input into his offense. We reported that he would present a list of plays to Coach Hackett, who would then sign off on those plays because he wanted to include a lot of what he did in Seattle into this offense in Denver. One coach told us he brought the entire no-huddle package to Denver, including the code words that they would use there. And, one interesting thing that we reported was that a Denver coach told us that Russell kept adding extra cadences to the offensive line in Denver.
Yeah, Kalyn, I want to get into that in just a moment about what the influence and how that played out on the field. But just wrapping up the Seattle thing for 1 second. So
sorry,
Russell,
I got on a roll.
It's okay. We want you on a roll. Russell Wilson tweeted out today after the story was published, "I love Pete and he was a father figure to me, and John believed in me and drafted me as well. I never wanted them fired. All any of us wanted was to win. I'll always have respect for them and love for Seattle." What's your response to that? Wilson saying he never wanted them fired.
Well, what's interesting about that is obviously we went to his people, his agent, his representatives yesterday for comment about, this detail that we were reporting about him wanting Pete and John fired. And he didn't give us a comment. We didn't have a comment from him to include in our article when we went to publish this morning. And then I don't know what time he actually tweeted that. I'm not sure, as far as what time we published versus what time he put that out there. But as soon as he put that out there, we reflected that in our article, we added it. But, I think it's interesting that before publish, he did not give us a comment and he wanted to do it on his own Twitter instead, which I totally understand. So I was expecting that comment today, because we saw, when was it, 2 weeks ago during the Super Bowl week, there was that story about his charity that came out, and he did the same thing. He put out a video giving his side of the story after, no commenting for the actual story. So I guess my reaction is that I was not surprised by his tweet.
Kalyn, how much of Russell Wilson's failures in year one were because of maybe teammates not respecting him or not liking him? I mean, you're doing the reporting. Maybe you could help me on this. I know you mentioned with Hackett, but what about the teammates? How did they feel about Russell Wilson? Was there a disconnect that led to maybe his poor play?
I think there was certainly a disconnect, but actually, most of the players, I would say all of the players that we spoke to, and we spoke to more than 15 Broncos players, coaches, and staffers. So, nobody we spoke to said, oh, Russell's horrible, Russell is egotistical, Russell's a narcissist. None of that. None of the narrative that, we're used to seeing about Russell Wilson, from some of his former Seattle teammates. That was really not at all what was going on here. I think the disconnect with Russell and his teammates came specifically from, him having an office on the second floor of the building and him having his own staff. Several players we spoke to said how different that was. And they didn't necessarily mean different as in bad, but they just pointed out, we've never played with a quarterback who had 3 of his own staff members following him around in the building. And we've never played with a quarterback who had his office on the second floor. And multiple people pointed out to us.
I mean, did they ever play with a quarterback who won a Super Bowl before? I mean, come on. I'm not saying it's normal, but Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. The guy won a Super Bowl.
Right. Well, that's an interesting argument. It's Tom Brady had his body man in the building, although that didn't end well in New England when they ended up, kicking him out with his access, eventually there. So it is an interesting argument is okay, at some point, if you're good enough as a quarterback, do you earn that? And the Broncos felt that he did because George Payton, the general manager, and Coach Hackett both agreed, as soon as he was traded there, they had conversations okay, yeah, you can have your own workspace within the building. Yes, you can have your own staff. But I think the proof of why that didn't work is what we reported. The final 2 weeks of the season, as soon as Coach Hackett was fired, Broncos leadership initiated a conversation with Russell Wilson where they brought up his staff and his office. And the result of that conversation was that Russell agreed, okay, I'm going to not bring my staff into the building anymore and I'm not going to use my office anymore. And then Jerry Jeudy told us, yeah, he was in the locker room a lot more for the last 2 weeks of the season. And so basically what happened there was he started spending more time with his teammates. He started, he basically got on the same level. He got out of his second floor office and started spending more time on the first floor locker room. And so just the fact that that was the result, because that meeting was to discuss, okay, what can we make changes to that, what wasn't working during the rest of the season that we can change now. And that was the result of that meeting. So I think that, sort of led to the disconnect there and put him on a different level than his teammates. But as far as the main reason why things weren't working is because Hackett allowed Russell to have too much control of the offense. And a lot of that, from our reporting, we learned that was probably rooted in Hackett's experience in Green Bay. He was on Matt LaFleur's first staff in Green Bay, and obviously that first year, implementing that offense with Aaron Rodgers was tough. It was a tough transition. And one coach told us that Hackett actually brought that up and in reference to why he wanted to why he wanted to be accommodating to Russell and include Russell in the invention of the offense. And what we ended up seeing this season was that it was too much control to the quarterback. And that led to a lot of inconsistency. Things were changing from week to week, and there was a ton of confusion.
Kalyn, did you find, well, okay, what were there in your reporting? Were there things that Russell Wilson was doing that directly impacted the negative product on the field? By him having that much influence, it negatively impacted the Broncos in the win-loss column.
I mean, I think it was a combination. I think this is how we reported it too, is like it was really a combination between Hackett's staff not working well together, coming at this season with too many ideas and not a solid identity of like, okay, this is what we want our offense to be. So then when Hackett allows Wilson to have influence on the offense already didn't have a firm identity. So then, one source told us, like, you could ask any player on the offense and they would not be able to tell you what the offensive identity was. And so I think it's like, it's not only Russell's fault for why this season didn't work. I think if Sean Payton had been his head coach this season, it probably would have worked. Like, I think Sean, as Dalton Reisner says at the end of our story, and he's a guard who started 15 games this season, so like he was in the thick of it. Dalton Reisner said, Peyton is going to set a standard, and you're going to have to meet it. That's what Denver needs. They need him to come in and set a standard, hold guys accountable, and say, this is what we're going to have to be.
Hey,
so
Kalyn, just to jump in for 1 second, we're talking with Kalyn Kahler. She's a senior NFL writer for The Athletic. New story about Russell Wilson that's on The Athletic today. Russ is obviously, you write in the story, has always loved Drew Brees, and so maybe had wanted to be coached by Sean Payton for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. When he tried to pull the power play in Seattle and try to get Pete Carroll and John Schneider fired for them to hire Sean Payton, do you know if Payton was like aware of that? Was Payton even interested in taking that Seattle job if it was offered to him?
That's a good question. I think it's complicated by the fact that they would have had to do, what Denver did. They would have had to trade for him. So it wasn't the normal just hire a coach scenario. So I don't know. Personally, I don't actually know the answer to that. It would be a good thing to ask him. And I found out today that Sean Payton actually follows me on Twitter. So
Flex, Kalyn.
Yeah. It's good. He might want to read this story, and
by the way, he's active on Twitter too, because he just went at some Denver Broncos reporter the other day for not having the amount of coaches right. So be careful what you tweet, Kalyn.
No,
I know. And
Kalyn's
that's
fact check.
How I found that out. Yeah, I was like, oh no, he's following me. Better be careful.
Well, I'm sure he was very interested to see what went wrong in Denver and how to avoid it. Kalyn, fantastic reporting. Really appreciate your time today. Great to catch up with you on a side note, and hope all's well.
Thanks, Maggie. Thanks, Sal.
Thank you.
Appreciate Kalyn Kahler from The Athletic, senior NFL reporter. Yeah,
I think things will be fine now with Payton restoring order there.
Yeah, but this is a big job for him. I know going into New Orleans, and New Orleans was a bit of a mess when he took over there, but you're talking about this feels like a ground-up situation, and it's ground up with a super famous quarterback who just had a very high-profile and spectacular failure in year one.
But there's now order. So to me, I still respect the authority of a coach. Like, he should be calling the shots. And there are very few coaches in today's NFL that actually have that track record, that command the respect that Sean Payton does.
How about this? Is Nathaniel Hackett and how bad he was, and Kalyn's talking about how they had no offensive identity. Is this not a shot to everyone who thinks you have to hire an offensive-minded coach as your head coach? And, I get it. Defensive-minded head coaches are not the thing. I know DeMeco Ryans got hired in Houston, but, they are not the thing. Nathaniel Hackett, 20 years in the NFL or whatever it is. Father was a head coach in college, was assisted in the pros, no clue.
Right, but
came in, no identity offense.
There's a difference between being a good offensive mind or a good offensive coordinator and being a head coach of a football team. Too many times these teams, whether it be defensive or not, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, here's a great idea. Wow, the Eagles just went to the Super Bowl. Let's go get their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know. Maybe you don't have Jalen Hurts. It just doesn't make any sense to me the way that these young coaches who are inexperienced get hired to be a head coach, when I think it takes a certain personality, a certain level of experience to be a good head coach.
We've been asking for your awkward celebrity encounters. I got to get to this one. Donovan's in Oregon. He's got 2. Donovan, pick your best one. Let us know.
Oh, the best one would have to be when I was a 19-year-old sports reporter. I had the opportunity to meet Jack Tatum.
Wow.
And my dad found out that I'd gotten the interview, and he sent me to this trading card show where Jack was and sent me with his paperback of They Call Me Assassin. Interview goes great. We're walking back out to the parking lot. He signs the book, and I brought up Darryl Stingley, and he looked me dead in the eye and said, son, you were doing so well. And I've never been more terrified. But can I give you the second one very quick?
Yeah, give us it real quick.
1981, hole-in-the-wall town, Southwest Oregon, Tug McGraw shows up. He was the closer for the Phillies the year they won the World Series. And there's this little snot-nosed brat running all over this store where Tug's signing autographs, who apparently he turned out to be a pretty halfway decent country singer.
It was Tim?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was Tim.
Crazy. Donovan, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate that.
A little snot-nosed brat, maybe a little strong, but
well,
that's cool.
And it turned out to be Tim McGraw.
Right.
There you go. Ack, you like that story about the Jack Tatum.
Oh, yeah. That's tremendous.
I had one similar. Kenny Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Knicks fan. Grow up. Kenny Anderson's at the local Wiz. Nobody beats the Wiz. I don't know why.
Nobody beats the Wiz.
Yeah,
That's a long one.
I don't know if I was looking to go buy the latest Eminem CD or what. I don't even know why I was there. But anyway, Kenny Anderson's there, and I go up to him dressed in full Nick gear.
Yeah, he's not going to appreciate that.
And I go,
that's a lottery pick.
And as he signed him, I go, hey, Kenny, what's John Starks like? Yeah, exactly.
Why
the guy that ruined his career.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even know. I don't care. I'm just thinking, I love John Starks so much. I want to get as much insider info as I can to him. And this is a guy who plays against him. Maybe he can help me out and tell me if Starks is a good guy or not.
Have you seen Kenny since? Because he's like around.
No, I have not.
I'm going to have to text him that story.
You know who was there too? Remember The Real World?
From
MTV?
The show. Yeah, of course.
Kenny Anderson used to, I think he was married to Tammy.
He was married to Tammy from L.A.
She was there as well, walking around CD shopping. Yeah.
And you're like, tell me about, oh, geez.
Hey, what's John Starks like? Now, I was like 18, whatever, maybe even younger, but yeah.
You're lucky you left
That's a
there.
bad one.
You didn't leave there in a body bag. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, see you guys on the phones. Get to that in just a moment. Also coming up, Sal was watching something last night, and he's got a strong opinion about what was on the telly. We'll tell you about it after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flash.
Well, in retrospect, it looks like the Seahawks made the right call. According to reports, Russell Wilson pushed to have both Pete Carroll and GM John Schneider fired last year before he wound up being traded. Wilson was hoping the team would hire Sean Payton as head coach. That has now happened, obviously, in Denver. Wilson had an awful first season with the Broncos while the Seahawks went to the playoffs without him. And with the help of the draft capital acquired in the trade, Wilson has denied the report. The Hawks and Quinn Snyder reportedly making progress toward a deal to make him the team's next head coach in the next few days. The Bucks were the NBA's hottest team to end the first half, winning 12 in a row. They'll host the Heat tonight. The good news is Bobby Portis and Jay Crowder expected to play, but Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, and Pat Connaughton all questionable. The Heat are also banged up, but added Kevin Love during the break, and the veteran forward energized by the change of scenery.
They put in, 35 plus years. I'm just trying to add to that, further that, as much or as little as I can in my time here. So, these guys have already established themselves. I just want to see where I can fit, see where I can help, and go from there. So, I'm excited, man.
And Russell Westbrook makes his Clippers debut when they take on the Kings. I'm Rich Ackerman.
How much does Detroit believe in Jared Goff? Lions fans, it's your turn to spin the QB carousel in the Zach Gelb Show later, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Sal Licata from WFAN and SNY sitting in for Perloff today. Got a lot to get to, but Sal had a encounter with an athlete, Mike Piazza, that went from cringe to like, cool. You saved it at the end.
How did that even come up, by the way? What were we talking about that even made that come up?
Something about Michael Vick. I think
Oh.
I think you really wanted to get that story on the air.
I said it before. I don't know why I would.
Shoehorning stories into the radio show.
I have so many. I know. I feel like people are actually listening to me now, Maggie. It's not like the overnight.
The Jake Gyllenhaal, you went up to him in a drunken stupor.
Well, we're on the topic, and now I remember all these other encounters. Yes, the Gyllenhaal one was unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I guess for everyone involved.
I have to know, do you have a story about meeting Hulk Hogan? Because I see that shirt that you're wearing, and I'm just like...
No, he's on my... I have a wish list of guys that I could interview. Hogan would probably be one of them. I've never met him before.
So we got Vic, we got Piazza, we got Hogan.
Matt Ryan.
Realistic
one. Dave Letterman.
List.
Dave Letterman's like the...
Dave Letterman would be amazing.
Yeah, oh my God, he would be the dream one.
He would be the dream, but like... Which one of these things is not like the other? I'm not going to lie, Matt Ryan. Like, you host a sports show. Getting Matt Ryan, that's not Letterman or Hogan.
No, Letterman's on...
You should be able to get Matt Ryan.
Correct. And I don't know why I can't. Matt Ryan wants to get into broadcast. I'm just trying to... The last week, I'm like, hey, I'm reaching out to all my contacts who are, producers or whatever.
He was just at CBS at the end of the season, right?
You would think that somebody along the way has a contact to Matt Ryan to where he'd be like, hey... I'm on the Fan. I need to have you on because it'd be a good segment.
Also, what do you think Matt Ryan's doing these days?
Nothing right now. He's waiting to get cut by the Colts.
Exactly.
Right? No, the problem would not be getting him. The problem is getting to him to ask him to come on. I just don't know how to do that yet. I'll go to Indianapolis if I have to. I mean,
I bet he's not there.
Or Atlanta. I'll go to Atlanta.
I give you $100 that he's not in Indianapolis.
Good point. Yeah.
Let's go to Justin, who's in Ohio. This is a good one. Justin, who'd you meet?
Hi, yeah. Hi, Maggie. I met Shaq, and we were at the Cleveland airport. It was me and my mom. It was like 1998, and we're walking, and I see Shaq. I'm like, Mom, that's Shaq. She says, that's not Shaq, and she keeps walking. I'm like, no, Mom, that's Shaq. And then he stands up. She said, oh my, that is Shaq. So we just started busting out laughing. I had to take a quick picture, and he rubbed my head and said, all right, little fella, see you later. Just one of the most craziest moments I had ever.
He seems like the nicest celebrity ever, Shaq.
Yes, he is.
Well, and Justin's got the story to confirm it in the airport. Thank you, Justin.
You ever meet Shaq or interview Shaq?
I have. I have a couple times. Once didn't go so well.
What, he was not nice or just the interview?
No, it wasn't that he wasn't nice. We went to... What was he promoting? A video game or something. And we ended up going to this like photo studio in New York, because when I was working for Sports Illustrated, and we went to go interview him. And he was just kind of standoffish. And like, I thought I was going to get the encounter that Justin got.
Right.
You know, like I've interviewed Barkley. Like, these guys are great and
fun-loving.
They're cool and they get it, and they are great when the camera turns on or when you're doing an interview. And he was just sort of like, he was just okay. It's just okay.
Right.
We leave there. I'm like, man, I really feel like a failure. Like, what happened? How did I not get anything fun with Shaq? We were trying to do fun things. We weren't asking him any crazy hard questions. It turns out that recently Sports Illustrated had put him on the cover when he was playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is like at the end of Shaq's career when he bounced around a little. Phoenix, Cleveland, Boston. This is like the very, very end. And it was a close-up photo of his face. And he looked like he had aged a little bit.
He didn't like it.
Hated it.
So you're Sports Illustrated.
So I'm Sports Illustrated. I had no idea that he had a problem with the cover or didn't like it or thought it was something else and it turned into another thing. I am not privy to any of this because there are levels to this thing, and I was not at the level of deciding who's on the Sports Illustrated cover. I was many rungs below the ladder. And he was upset about that, so he kind of gave us the cold fish interview.
Wow.
Yeah, no clue. Didn't know.
Understandable, but he can't hold you accountable for something that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I mean, I had nothing to do with it.
Lighten up, Shaq.
Our buddy, Nick in Texas, coming through with the celebrity encounter. Nick, you know everybody.
I've just been fortunate to meet a lot of people. Real quickly, hashtag Weedos.
Weedos in the chat and the purple drinkers.
Yes. I've been fortunate to meet a lot of great people. I've been telling my stories in the chat, but real quickly, the one that really sticks out, you guys were just in Phoenix, and I was trying to tell you where to go, and one of them was where I used to work, which was The Village, which is a tennis and sports health club. Well, while I was working there, Ric Flair was in town, and he's been using our gym to work out. The next day, he came in just like guns blazing, yelling, and I was like standing there at the front desk. He just started ripping into me, yelling at me. There was no woo! It was just straight yelling. And he was yelling and yelling, and I was like a deer in headlights. I didn't know what to do, but it had nothing to do with me. What had happened was there was a fight that had happened in the gym previous the day before, but he didn't want anybody to know that he broke it up. So I was just the first person he saw, and he came and just yelled it and gave it to me. Luckily, the owner came and, worked it out with me. He never apologized, but there's always like an autograph show here in Texas that I go to and do meet a lot of athletes, and he's always there. And I've always just wanted to walk up to him and, tell him that story. But he was definitely scary, like you would think. He was in wrestling mode for sure.
Man, Nick, amazing story and fantastic job again on the charity, on the pie for Emma. Nick, you did a great job with that. Everyone in the chat giving you a huge round of applause. Fantastic stuff and great story. Have a good weekend, Nick. Say hi to everybody for us.
You've ever interviewed Flair? You've interviewed a lot of
Flair with Charlotte. Both of them together.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a fun one at SI, and he was obviously, super proud of her, and that was a good one.
Filling in for you, I think twice I did that. I probably did the show a little bit more when you were off or whatever. I interviewed Gene Simmons and Anthony Mackie, who were really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, when am I going to ever interview celebrities other than filling in for Maggie?
Listen, I'm happy to spread the wealth. All right, never got to what you were watching on TV last night that got you fired up, but also Sal's got a prediction on a quarterback move. We're going to get to that in just a moment. Don't move.
You promise?
Your phone calls for Maggie and Perloff with Sal Licata filling in today right after this.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Even if your team wins, let alone the losses, then you kind of like go wherever you got to go, into your dark place.
Wait. What do you mean you go into your dark place? What does that mean?
Where do you go?
I don't go into my dark place. That sounds like you have a cave in your basement where you just sit and sulk.
She's Batman?
Yeah, without the crime fighting.
It actually sounds closer to Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
A little closer, yeah.
This dark place.
You don't go into a dark place when the Eagles lose?
I don't think like
just
you
like
do.
Endlessly scrolling, just like hoping that somehow the outcome changes through
So different
social
because the
media.
last time the Eagles had that magnitude of game, they won. So I can't really relate to what it's like to have Super Bowl expectations of blow lead.
And we're
So
gonna-
no, my dark place is not quite as dark because there's been light down there.
Amazing.
Unlike your dark place.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
What up? Welcome to the show. It is Maggie and Perloff on this Friday. Sal Licata from WFAN and SNY's filling in for Perloff today, but Perloff will be back on Monday and will be regaling us with tales of skiing for the first time. So we'll see how that goes. Sal, you are a tried and true Atlanta Falcons fan. Living in New York, that's interesting.
I was a tried and true. I still am. You can't change that, obviously.
No.
But I'm just not as diehard as I once was.
Well, I thought you might like this because what I'm about to tell you could represent something really fun for the Atlanta Falcons. I think it's safe to say Falcons in the market for a quarterback.
I believe so. I mean, obviously, drafted Ritter. He played some last year, of course. I don't know. I mean, from what I saw, I don't know if I would feel confident saying he's the guy, but they could certainly use an upgrade there.
Okay, you're picking 8th overall in the draft, so maybe you go to the draft. Maybe that's possible. But I was listening to a podcast with Michael Lombardi, who's the former general manager, and he thought that the Atlanta Falcons might be trying to make a play for Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. If Justin Fields does become available, if the Chicago Bears are listening, because obviously they have the number 1 overall pick, if they want somebody who's maybe a little bit more polished of a passer, whatever it may be, that Atlanta would be the team lining up for Justin Fields. As a Falcons fan, what do you think about that?
I have a hard time buying that. Remember, they could have just drafted him. If they liked him that much, and I understand that we've now seen him succeed to a certain extent with the Bears, and I like Justin Fields a lot. Matter of fact, see, I'm partial to running quarterbacks because I fell in love with Michael Vick many years ago. So, and that to me he was a game changer. Now it's like the norm. But I always loved that style because I saw the success that you could have with that. So I like watching Justin Fields. I liked him a lot. But the Bears kept losing, and there are issues with him throwing the football. But regardless of what I think about Justin Fields, Atlanta passed on the opportunity to draft him when they definitely needed a quarterback for a tight end. Which
but Kyle Pitts was supposed to be the next best thing since sliced bread.
Was supposed to be. And in principle, I don't care about, you don't want to take the quarterback, fine. You cannot take a tight end there, ever. When you have as many holes as they have, you cannot justify taking a tight end. And what do they do the next year? They take a wide receiver. Like, I hate that. You build inside out to me. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, pass rush, whatever. Great cornerback. I'd rather have all those positions than tight end. But if they took a tight end in Kyle Pitts over a potential franchise quarterback, there's no chance in hell the same GM, Terry Fontenot, is going to go trade now for Justin Fields. It's just not going to happen.
So you're not holding out hope for that. What about Lamar Jackson?
That's a different situation. Now, I don't know. Remember, the Falcons were in on Deshaun Watson a year ago.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if Jackson, something went wrong with the Ravens, and who knows what's going on there with these contract talks and, how much he wants guaranteed. I would not be surprised at all if the Falcons were seriously interested in Lamar Jackson.
Okay, so what it's going to take, minimum, I think, well, the money. It's going to be, he's looking for, according to reports, and this stuff is, it's all allegedly out there. Deshaun Watson got $230 million guaranteed. According to the latest from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, that Lamar's looking to increase on top of that. So anything north of 230 guaranteed, plus it's going to take you draft picks. I mean, 3, 4 first rounders maybe. As a Falcons fan, are you willing to commit 4 first-round picks and north of $230 million for Lamar Jackson?
No, as much as I love Lamar Jackson, I don't think you could commit that guaranteed because of his health issues. And because of his style of play. He plays the game like a running back.
Right.
And we know what running backs, they go away quickly, even the best of running backs. So now you have a quarterback that plays the game like a running back that has been hurt at the biggest moments at the end of seasons in the last couple of years. Questionable knee stuff. Even if you tell me he's 100% healthy, I know that his style is going to lead him to being hurt eventually. So, no, as much as I love to see it, and it would get me excited, believe me, there's no way you could trust that or do that.
Okay, counterpoint to that. If Lamar Jackson goes to Atlanta, he will be starting off with better receivers in Drake London and Kyle Pitts as a tight end than he ever had in Baltimore. I mean, no disrespect to Mark Andrews, who's a good tight end, but Bateman hasn't been able to stay healthy. Duvernay, they trade away Marquise Hollywood Brown. Like, he has not had weapons, and he's also had an offensive coordinator that's been basically saying, run the ball. I mean, Greg Roman is known to work with running quarterbacks. Maybe, and I've always said this about Lamar, he was a good passer in college. It wasn't like he was, a Josh Allen where he's less than 50% completion percentage or whatever. Like, he's got a big arm. Just because he hasn't thrown the ball to the point we would like to see doesn't mean he can't.
But we haven't seen it.
I know, but see, I think with great players.
Do you think there's more there with Jackson?
I do. And that's where 250 or whatever it's going to be is a lot. I would take a deep breath, swallow hard, and go, because
you have to
just do it.
You have to pay. Look, to win, you have to find a good quarterback, right?
If you're lucky enough to get a great quarterback, you're going to have to pay.
My issue is not that. My issue is with, and I don't love him as a passer, but I guess to your point, like, we haven't really seen. Maybe there is another level there to Lamar Jackson. Maybe they need to open it up a little bit more. And by the way,
he's still only 26.
But he may have to, Maggie, to survive in the league, because if he doesn't start throwing the football, he's not going to stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's my issue, is his style of play, while exciting, while lethal. I mean, you can't stop him. It's not a style that I'm going to go out there and guarantee. I don't mind giving that type of guarantee money to a great quarterback, which he is, but I worry about the injury with him.
Okay, so who do you want to be your quarterback? Like, if I could give you, like, what do you want them to do?
I think the plan for them, well, and now they have money still available with finally, they traded Julio, they traded Matt Ryan. Now the money's off the books, so they have some money to spend here. I'm okay. Look, Ritter, whatever, at the end of last year, he looked raw to me, and I don't. He
was a third-round pick. You're not expecting that person to step in unless you're Russell Wilson.
Well, it could happen, and I know the intangibles that he has. I like all that. I was not sold on what I saw from him. It's just not a good throw of the football at all. Now, again, he could evolve. Who knows here? I would, and I know this is going to sound nuts, and I really don't care because I've sounded crazy before. If I'm them, I look to bring Matt Ryan back as a veteran quarterback, because this is what I would have done initially. I wanted them to draft a young quarterback, have him learn for 1 year under Ryan, the Kansas City model, and then have that quarterback take over. They didn't do that because they had an opportunity to trade Matt Ryan, and I understand why. Get rid of the money, fine. They drafted Ritter. They bring in Mariota. He's not the guy that you want
of course not.
ever, proven at the way that he left the team. Oh, I'm going to take my starting job away. You suck, okay? You deserve to have your starting job taken away. Bye-bye. Walk away, leave. So I like Arthur Smith. I like Fondo. I think they have a nice foundation there. If they could bring back Matt Ryan and draft a younger quarterback and have him, or even if it's not Matt Ryan, although that's the ideal situation, a veteran quarterback to play this year, the way that they did with Mariota, have a young quarterback learn under him and then hand it over. I don't think Ritter's the guy. They tried it with Mariota Ritter. I don't think that was the right combo.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the roster is so amazing. Did we really see the real Ritter? You're right about that.
They can run the football better now. They're starting to get there. I do trust Fontenot and Arthur Smith. I like those guys.
That's interesting. The whole bring back Matt Ryan to
not going to happen. But
I mean, that's something I've heard from literally nobody about what Matt Ryan's future is going to be.
You should see the comments or hear the calls that I get on the overnight when I say, because I was saying it in similar fashion prior to the Jets firing LaFleur.
Yeah.
Remember, that's an offense that Matt Ryan won an MVP in.
Right.
Matt Ryan is the guy to get whatever's left of Zach Wilson because the intangibles. I'm not worried about Wilson's talent at the moment. I'm worried about why is this guy not a leader? Why is he immature? Why do the teammates hate him? Well, those are things that Matt Ryan excelled at.
Sure.
And also, let's not forget, prior to Matt Ryan going to the Colts this year, when he went to the Colts, what was everybody saying? Oh, the Colts, wow, they could be a surprise Super Bowl team in the AFC. Colts are going to be pretty good. Maybe not everybody. But
I don't know. Everybody.
No, a lot of people thought the Colts were going to be much better than what they were because they finally had a quarterback. There's a lot, like Russell Wilson in Denver, there's a lot of reasons to why a quarterback may fail in that spot. All Matt Ryan ever knew was Atlanta. Now the pressure of trying to bring the Colts to a Super Bowl, new team, new offense. Obviously, they had issues with the offensive line.
Clearly, that was not a Super Bowl caliber team.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and Matt Ryan trying to maybe do too much. He takes the brunt of it. Oh, he's washed. Look, he's never been a quarterback that was mobile.
Yeah.
So even in now today's game where everybody's mobile, Ryan looks older, looks slower, but I don't think he's washed up. And that's kind of the point where I was saying maybe he could be a good mentor to Zach Wilson or whoever it may be.
Here's a question. Not every quarterback wants to be a mentor. I mean, he might be at this stage of his career. That's where you are. But not all guys want to do this.
I think he would, which is why...
Which is why I'm surprised that the Falcons didn't draft a quarterback to replace him earlier. Because they were still drafting to go for it, like presumably thinking they were going to win the division?
I'm not sure if they could have traded him because of the salary cap hit. I'm not sure.
No, why didn't they draft Jalen Hurts? And I'm not just saying that like a lot of people whiffed on Jalen Hurts, but like to bring in the second round pick, like why were the Falcons not on Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I mean, well, looking back in hindsight, right, you could say that a lot about Moore. I'm not sure. I don't remember the exact situation with it other than they were trying to, when Fontenot took over, when they fired Dan Quinn.
Right.
And Fontenot took over as general manager. They hired Arthur Smith. It was basically the beginning of the end. They needed to shed Julio, shed Ryan, which was not easy to do. They did it, and then they started to kind of rebuild the thing. But, yeah, I wanted them to draft. Even Fields, like if that was the guy that they liked, draft Fields, have him sit and watch and learn under Matt Ryan. That would have been my ideal situation.
It's just interesting because you think every quarterback – you know, Atlanta's not a bad option. You play in the NFC South. Brady's gone now. It's a winnable division. You get to play in a dome. You're
division
in the
now
NFC.
Should stink without Brady, right?
Terrible.
The Bucs aren't any good. The Saints.
Anyone could win that division. And I would be gunning to try to get to the NFC South. I think people like Arthur Smith.
If you were the Falcons, and he's good, they should like him. He's a nice combination of old school, new school coach. Would you go all in on Lamar Jackson if you're Atlanta?
I would. Listen, here's the thing about Lamar. Even with missing the 10 games and the last 2 years, I understand it, but I think that there is just more there. And I just want to see what that is. You know, I want to see what it's like to have him with a different offensive coordinator. What could that possibly be? Because I believe in the talent. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Like, the Bills have played some crazy games against the Ravens. I'm always worried about Lamar Jackson. And they've beaten him mostly in those games, but I'm always worried about him. Like, you walk into the game and the only question on your mind, and they have a good defense, don't get me wrong, but it's like, how in the hell are we going to stop this guy? It's hot. It's very hard. All right. Sal told us early on the show they had an encounter with Mike Piazza.
I still want to know how that came up.
It went terribly, then it went great. Cringe to cool is what happened. And now you guys are calling in with your own encounters. Mike is in California. Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, guys, how's it going?
What do you got? What's your celebrity encounter?
So I've got two of them. I'll make them both pretty quick. First one was I'm here in Palm Desert, Palm Springs area, so we used to have the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic programs. You would get all the big people coming in for that. And I was having a dinner with some clients at a pretty reputable, pretty upscale steakhouse here in Palm Desert, and I hear the voice. This is back in the 90s. I hear the voice behind me, look over my shoulder, and it's Samuel L. Jackson and Emmett Smith having dinner right next to me.
That is cool.
And I did the worst thing possible. I said, I kind of did a little nod to them and waved at them really quick. They nodded and waved back. My brother was a big Emmett Smith fan, so I said, turn around, and I did it. They were getting notes, and I said, any chance I could get an autograph? And Samuel L. Jackson didn't say a word, but he just gave me that Pulp Fiction stare. I was like, never mind. So that one it started good, but ended pretty bad. My other one, though, was I was at a pro shop or a clubhouse playing golf with the same group a couple days later. And a really good friend of mine was with me. He was a rather large gentleman back in those days, and we run into Danny DeVito or Joe Pesci. And we're in the private club room, and he walks over to Joe, and he goes, Mr. Pesci, I'm a huge fan. Would you mind giving me an autograph? And he goes, sure. And he signed a napkin, handed it to him, and Rich reached over and grabbed a handful of nuts. He goes, hey, big boy, if you eat all the food in here, they're going to throw you out of here. You know that, right? He turned around and walked away.
That's funny. Oh, my gosh. Mike, 2 good ones for you. I can imagine getting the death stare from Samuel Jackson, like, say what again? I'm like, oh, no.
You have to understand, I think sometimes people fail to understand in that moment that for you, it's unique. For them, it happens all the time.
Yes, Sal, what do you think people say to Mike Piazza when they see him in a restaurant? They tell him, I love you.
There are 2 different things. Correct. There are 2 different things about that unique circumstance.
Yes.
The setting to where it was not like I walked over to his table. I was walking out, and he was right there.
I'm sure there were no other exits, no other paths you could have taken out of the restaurant.
There was. I didn't see him until we were walking out, like the one lane. I was like, holy crap, there's Mike Piazza. 2, I am somewhat of a public figure myself. I mean, I have gotten somebody came up to me at dinner once, and I don't give a crap. Like, obviously, it's not to the level of an actual star, but for me, it's cool. Oh yeah, love the show, whatever. That's fine.
Yeah,
but
they think you're Craig Carton. Craig loved the show.
Exactly, Craig. Can you sign this? Where's Evan? Yeah. Screw off! I'm the overnight host. Don't you know I am? No, but. I wouldn't do it in that setting if I didn't feel comfortable enough, because I've been in other spots where you see celebrities and you don't want to interrupt them because they get it all the time. You feel, bad.
I'm just remembering a bad one I had.
Go ahead. This is great. Let's hear it.
I don't know why this jogged my memory, but when I had first moved to New York, I was living in the East Village and with my brother, and we shared an apartment, and I was walking down our own street, 13th Street. I turned the corner, and it's empty. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, so random time. And who's walking at me? And this is 2006 or 7? Michael Imperioli. Sopranos is as big as it can possibly be, right? So just walk, and it's just him and I, same side of the sidewalk. I'm looking at him. He's looking down. As we pass, he looks up, and I just go, you're awesome. He goes, thanks, and kept walking. What an idiot.
That's not bad.
Who just says you're awesome?
You had to say something, but you didn't need to be like, hey, I know who you... I don't need to stop you and get a picture or an autograph, whatever, but I want you to acknowledge that I know who you are and you're awesome.
I don't even know if the finale had happened yet. I could be like, what happened? Tony get it? What's going on? I have no idea.
Christopher, how can you sit on... what was
dog.
It? Yes! Exactly. What the hell was his wife's name?
What was her name? And they killed her.
Adriana. I was thinking Angelina.
How could you let Silvio kill Adriana? Was it Silvio?
I think so, yes.
Spoiler alert, jeez.
Oh, come on. We're 20 years or whatever past it, if you can believe that.
Yeah, let's go to Josh is in Eugene, Oregon, where I'm sure Sal's Marcus Mariota quip didn't go over well. What's up, Josh?
Hey, well, I've had a few celebrity encounters, but one that was absolutely crazy, and that was Damian Lillard.
What happened?
I managed a bar on the University of Oregon campus for a lot of years, and I was getting ready to go to work, and I happened to look at Twitter, and Damian Lillard tweeted that he was in Eugene for some PR thing for Adidas, and this was the summer after he hit that shot against the Rockets and sent them home in the playoffs. So he catapulted himself to one of the most popular people in the state. So I just tweeted back to him that, hey, well, I manage this bar, we have DJ, everything like that, and you should come down. Thought nothing of it. About midnight that night, a bouncer comes in and says, there's a guy asking for you at the door. And I go outside, and there's Damian Lillard and Nick Batum, and he's asking for me by name because his cousin is with him that doesn't have an ID and wants to get in. And
That's great.
Wait, did you let him in?
Yeah. Past the statute of limitations, but I'm like, this is Damian Lillard. I'm letting him in. Well, long story short, I mean, we went from 80 students in that bar to like 300 in a matter of an hour.
I'm sure.
And
Once the word gets out.
Yeah, we were so busy that when he was trying to leave, he just comes by and tells me thank you, and I shook his hand, but I didn't get a picture or anything. But about a half an hour later, my phone dings, and Damian Lillard is now following me on Twitter, and to this day, I'm one of the people he follows. So.
Wow,
That's
look
amazing.
at that.
Josh, what a flex, dude. Awesome story.
That's a
Thank
great
you.
story.
That's
Now,
cool.
What would you rather have, a selfie, an auto, or a follow on social media?
Selfie.
Yeah, I think so. Me
Yeah.
too. Although, I love the fact that Piazza follows me on Twitter.
I mean,
as opposed to
that's cool.
the selfie.
Although you're gonna make a crack about the Mets at some point in the middle of the season. He's gonna unfollow you.
Initially, it was like, oh my God, I got to watch what I tweet. Piazza's following me. Now I don't care anymore. But like at the time.
You got nervous? Like he's in the room?
So you're getting on me saying like I interrupt. Like, I didn't ask for an autograph as badly as I wanted to. Or I didn't ask for a selfie
Sign a baseball bat.
Yeah, please, sign my arm. I love you. My wife's like, what was that? I swear, when we went down to the beach afterward, she's like, what was that? You acted like I've never seen you like that, nervous. I was like, that's Mike Piazza. Like
watching men get all gaga for other men is wild.
There are very few, Maggie. Very few.
Yeah.
He's one of them.
He's one of the gaga guys. Yeah. Oh, man. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Yeah, back before the camera phone, the best thing you could do, I remember once I got a hug from Redman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Redman's a great one.
Yeah, I got a hug from Redman. And that's all you could get back in the day. We didn't have a camera. I didn't have a camera phone. I was a freshman in college, and he was performing. We got to go backstage and meet him. And my friend goes, can I have a hug? And so he hugged her, and I go, can I have one too? So I got one too.
I love Redman.
I know.
Can you imagine, though, I guess if you're a celebrity, what would you think would be more annoying? The old school, like, hey, can you sign this? Or now where it's like everything selfie?
I wouldn't want to do the selfies because all of a sudden I got one eye open. I'm looking all doped up, and people, I take bad photos constantly, so I would always be nervous.
Yeah, it's just, the world we live in now. Unfortunately, celebrities are going to get peppered with the cell phones, with selfies left and right.
Listen, sometimes it's Salicata. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. See you guys on the phones. We get to that. Also, it's Friday. You know what time it is. The advice ducks in the house. If you have any last-minute ones, you can get them in. If I don't answer it today, it'll be next Friday. We're back in a minute. I'm Maggie and Perloff with Sal sitting in for Pearl today.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff. Sal Licata sitting in for Perloff today. If you're watching us, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, you will see the advice duck is in the house. It's Friday. This is when I put on the duck suit and answer your questions. Sal's looking at me like, what did I sign up for
Where's
today?
Maggie? As I'm now joined by the advice duck. There we go.
The Maggie is no longer here. It's just the advice duck. Again, across the country on our amazing CBS Sports Radio affiliate, Sirius XM channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, where I am in a duck costume. All right, here, the first one comes from Anonymous. Do I recommend the McDonald's Shamrock Shake? I recommend anything that happens for a limited time only. Don't cheat yourself. Whether it's Shamrock Shake, McRib, whatever you're into, if it's only for a limited time, you got to have at least one. You're going to kick yourself if you don't get it, and then too much time passes, and then you miss it. So that's not just about the Shamrock Shake. That's my advice in life.
Not just fast food stuff?
I'm a big when in Rome person.
Okay.
Do the thing when it's time to do the thing.
Makes sense, because otherwise you'll regret not taking advantage of that rare opportunity.
You'll never regret it.
Advice. Just do the thing.
Listen,
who cares? Whatever.
Yeah, where do we draw the line, advice duck, on that?
Well,
because there are a lot of different things.
It's a case-by-case basis.
Hey, advice duck. I was walking down the street and somebody offered me crack. What do I do?
Well, listen,
you're in Rome. Do the thing.
Listen, what are you in Crack City, USA? If you're in Crack City, USA, no, I'm just kidding. Do the thing that's indigenous
what kind
to
of
the
duck
place.
is this? Crack City, USA.
a very worldly ducks.
Yeah, okay.
Sal, quacked in a lot of ponds.
Yeah, right.
Do the thing when you can do the thing, except if it's drugs. Don't do drugs. Okay, unless you're Aaron Rodgers, then do all the drugs you want. Jack in D.C. My wife and I just had a baby. My two sisters, who can't stand each other and do not get along, are both going to be in town this weekend, and they're only available to visit on the same day in the same time frame. How do I navigate this dilemma?
Oh, man.
First of all, Jack, prayers up, because this one's going to be a doozy. So first thing, get your mind right. Realize that this is not going to go perfectly. And sometimes you can't just shoot for perfect. You just got to shoot for, we got to get through this thing. Now, the great thing about children is that you can use them for decoys, shields, and distractions. Once a baby becomes present, especially babies, because they can't do anything about it, they're just laying there. When a baby becomes present, everyone's demeanor changes because it's all about the baby. All you have to do is use the baby as the constant decoy and distraction for the bad blood that exists between the sisters.
So his two sisters staying with him same time, and they don't like each other.
Yeah.
Advice, Doug, why wouldn't you just say, get a hotel?
Wait a minute. Are they staying overnight? No, this is a visit. If it's staying overnight.
It sounds like it's a visit.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a visit. It sounds like that they're only around for a short period of time, and the only time that they're both available is the same time.
Is during that time.
I see what you're saying.
The other thing that has to be present here is you got to just kill this thing with food. As much food as humanly possible has to be present in this encounter. Again, more distractions.
Right. Hey, does anybody want to go get a shamrock shake?
Yeah, how about that? They're here for a limited time. You know what? And you didn't think those two questions were related, but Sal, you're a pro. There you go.
I have a question for you, Advice Doug.
Sure.
How do I...
Sorry, Maggie's purple drink chalice in the chat added, is crack considered a limited time only?
No. How do I take certain weekends away by myself? How do I
get
tell
away
my
from the wife and kids?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
You said it, not me, but
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
that's what my question is.
Okay. I'm glad you asked. Any personal time, time with the fellas, get away with the guys, whatever that is, all of that can be solved with gifts. It's whatever it's going to cost you to go away with the buddies. You need to take a quarter of that and buy something for your wife and for your daughter. If we're talking about you here, we're just talking hypothetically.
Yes.
You have to come back like Santa Claus. You have to make sure that you come back with something real good. If you can do that, then you can go away.
Do you have again, hypothetically, this is not necessarily for me, is there a troubleshooting line where I could contact you, Advice Doug, when that doesn't work?
Yeah.
It's 1-800-QUACK-QUACK.
Yeah, put her on the phone with me, and I'll tell her, I have no idea what you're talking about. How did you get this number?
Hey, honey, here you go. And it's still not sufficient?
No, it will work.
Okay. All right.
Trust
Thank you,
in the Advice Doug. You're welcome, everybody.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ack, you have any questions?
I wasn't prepared, so.
Oh, well, you don't need advice. Look at you, Mr.
I need a lot of advice.
Exactly. I know you do. So I figured fire one off.
We only have 30 minutes left in the show.
Maybe I need advice. Not maybe it's something I don't want to share publicly, though. Huh?
Listen, we could have a gaggle of geese here. It's not going to work for Ackerman. I can only do so much.
There you go.
That is great.
I don't have magic powers, Sal. Just wisdom. It's not a magic wand, okay? I can't abracadabra this stuff.
The Advice Doug can't solve Ack's problems, unfortunately.
855-212-4CBS.
Well, actually, she could, but I'm just saying,
No.
If I start solving Ack's problems, I'm going to also start charging by the hour.
Yeah, really.
855-212-4227. We've been asking for your awkward celebrity encounters off of Sal basically accosting Mike Piazza. Telling him how much
I like
he loves
the evolution of this story. Yeah.
That's not how I remember him telling the story.
Well, yada, 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 Sal accosted.
Yeah, right.
And then he followed him on Twitter.
Right.
Jay is in Houston. Jay, what was your celebrity encounter?
So this is a great story about a great guy and who made me feel really good as a young teen. Grant Hill, of whom I did not know, but I challenged to a one-on-one at a college visit. He was visiting a local college in New Orleans that I was about to attend, and a friend of mine whose dad was the president of the university had started a pickup game. So I didn't know who he was. He was, all of my friends said was, hey, man, that's my cousin. And so I started talking trash because I come from a local high school where, I went to school with nothing but pros at St. Augustine High School down there.
Yeah.
And so I started talking to Grant Hill. Major trash. He's in Sunday school clothes, and he's just coming off an All-American high school senior year at South Lakes in Virginia. And I'm going at it with him, and he has enough. He's like, that's it. He grabs the ball after I took him to the hole and, laid it on him, and he just majorly just slams the ball like right down on my head.
I love that.
And gave me that look back like, how dare you, And
wow, so he was in high school at this time.
Let me tell you how great this guy is.
Yeah.
You would think that he would not remember me. Well, later the following summer, he had just come back from the Olympic trial practice where him and other guys had went up against the Dream Team. Well, remember, that team actually beat the Dream Team in San Diego in a practice game.
Famously,
so
yep.
He shows back up at the Riverwalk in New Orleans. I get out of class to go to work down there, and who do I run into? And I'm like, damn, that's Grant. I run over to him. He's, hey, kid, and he recognizes me from a year later.
Wow. Did he give you a little bump just like for good measure?
I was like, well, I said, look, I know you're busy and all. I said, but I'm going to let you. He says, oh, no. He says, come on, come walk with me. So we walked the mall, and I swear to you, I'm feeling like I'm the star. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, listen, Jay, Grant Hill has one of the best reputations in all of sports. I can only say I've been lucky enough to be around him a few times. I sat next to him at a dinner once, interviewed him a couple times. He is as pleasant, nice. I mean, he's like salt of the earth guy. I can't imagine anyone talking trash to him.
Right. Well, he didn't know who he was.
Yeah, it was high school, so it was a long time ago. That's a cool story, though. Do like that one. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. In the chat, they're asking, do I tell the police officer I'm only here for a limited time?
Yeah, right.
You got to take the advice, Duck. I'm assuming level-headedness here.
Right, I know, but when you say, hey, you got an opportunity to take advantage of it, that could mean a lot of different things. I don't know why, drugs became one of those things, but...
No, not drugs and, experience. That doesn't sound right either.
No, can't use that one.
Only legally.
Okay.
Only things where you don't break the law.
All right. Or hurt somebody's feelings or, could get you in trouble, right?
Sure.
What do you mean?
I just said don't break the law.
Yeah, okay.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, that's it for the advice, Duck. But we still have a lot more to do today on the show, including, they say that artificial intelligence is all bad, but I've got something that it's awesome for. Plus, we still have to get to what Sal was watching on TV last night. They got him all fired up. That comes after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flag. Getting fired up watching Sesame Street. Russell Wilson tried to play the power game and lost.
Ebert.
You're the only guy who thinks Bert's overrated.
I watch a lot of Sesame Street now. Come on. 1, 2, How many updates is this for you today?
I don't know. I've got to think.
Exactly.
How many stations? According to reports, Wilson pushed for the dismissals of both Pete Carroll and GM John Schneider last year, only to be traded to Denver. Wilson was hoping to be coached by Sean Payton then. He ultimately got his wish a year later. He has denied that report. Russell Westbrook is back in L.A. after a brief stop in Utah. He joined the Clippers after being bought out by the Jazz, and they'll host the division-leading Kings tonight. Westbrook may not be the MVP he once was, but willing to do whatever it takes.
To me, it's just finding my way to be able to help other guys is something I truly embrace, and that's what I will do. Make sure I can make the game easy for all these guys that are here. Find out their spots, what they like, what they don't like, and that's going to be a process with me. But I'm ready for the challenge and looking forward to it.
Clippers are currently 4th in the West, a game and a half behind the Kings, while the Bucks go for their 13th straight against the Heat. I'm Rich Ackerman.
How much does Detroit believe in Jared Goff? Lions fans, it's your turn to spin the QB carousel in the Zach Gelb Show later, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
WFAN and SNY has been sitting in all day for Perloff. Sal, you'll be familiar with this because you fill in for the morning show with Boomer and Gio. It is time for our Casamigos shot of the day.
Shot of the day!
The shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. Well, it became a theme of the show when Sal told us about his encounter with his celebrity crush, Mike Piazza.
I interrupted his breakfast one time over the summer. Well, not a flex. I was walking out of the hotel that I was at.
Wait a minute, Sal. You didn't do the fan thing,
I did. I had to. No, I had to.
Sal.
I see him. We make eye contact. Now, remember, I do host a show on
We make eye contact.
We did. We make eye contact. And I was like, I have to say something. And I swear to you, I went, Mike, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to say I love you so much and thank you. Next thing, I come back. I was actually filling in for the morning show. I checked my DMs. Piazza was listening. DM me on Twitter. Said, thanks for the shout out. My daughter really got a kick out of it. Nice to meet you, whatever it was.
Look at you.
You believe that?
Somehow you saved the story. Well, Mike Piazza saved the story for you, Sal.
Yeah. I know that DM, the follow and a DM. Thank you, Mike.
And I'm looking forward to a weekend, of course, with Casamigos because I feel like I've earned it, guys. And that's where I go to Casamigos.com because I love the suggestions for their cocktails. And I'll tell you what I'm going to be drinking tonight. That's the Casamigos Paloma, Casa Paloma, the Blanco tequila, the grapefruit juice, a little bit of lime. I'm ready to go. They go down a little too easy, but that's my Casamigos go-to.
Sounds delicious.
That, the light margarita, that's where you're going to catch Maggie Gray.
You'd be out by what time? Like 9 o'clock, passed out, or what? After?
If that. If that. On a Friday, not like it used to be, Sal. No,
I know, unfortunately.
Let's get to John is in Detroit. He's got a story about an awkward celebrity encounter. What's up, John?
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
To take the call. Actually, Meg, I mean, I've ran restaurants for several years of my life. I've spoken several times, but I mean, I actually had the pleasure of working out with Arnold in Venice Beach when my wife and I were out there. You know, I've met
Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're saying?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. But
is it weird I knew who he was talking about?
Well, I just want to make sure for the audience, but I'm like, what phase of Arnold's life did you encounter him in? Was this when he was the governor of California, when he was the Terminator, like when he was Mr. Universe?
This was back in 1999, 2000.
Mm.
And then I took over a restaurant because my wife told me I had to get off that big jet plane and stop running restaurants across America. So I went to Ortonville, Michigan, and ran a restaurant called Bullfrogs. Kid Rock lived a quarter mile down the road. So Bobby Ritchie would come in every now and again. Well, him and Sheryl Crow did the song Picture down at his studio. Calls me up and says, "Hey, Johnny, I just cut a new song. Do you mind if I bring a few friends up there? Can you put the back section for me?" I'm like, "Sure, of course, Bobby. What's going on?" So he comes in, and all of a sudden, here's Sheryl Crow and the song Picture, and here comes in Anna Canova, Fedorov, you know, when they were dating, and the whole gang, and literally played that song till 6 a.m. in the morning.
Jeez, Anna Kournikova and Sergei Fedorov. Everything about this call was like taking a time machine back to like the early 2000s.
I forgot about Anna Kournikova.
Thank you for the phone call.
16, 17-year-old Sal. I loved Anna Kournikova.
I think you speak for most men out there.
I had a tennis pose. Hey, who knew about tennis? I did back then. Thank
All
you,
of a
Anna.
sudden, Sal's the world's biggest tennis fan. Yeah.
Oh, I loved her. Kid Rock, not so much.
No. Actually,
what? You don't have one you can't tell?
No. It's not a Kid Rock story. It's like an adjacent Kid Rock story. I was with my friend in Nashville, and we were at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, the famous place right on Broadway there. And we're sitting up, and we're outside on the deck, and all of a sudden, they started coming over to rope off like a section. They're like, "What, ladies, do you mind? I'm sorry, we have to move you a little bit. We've got a thing coming here." And we're like, "All right." So we're sitting right next to the sectioned off part, but outside, beautiful, nice Nashville day. And all of a sudden, one of the guys from NSYNC comes over and starts talking to us. Chris, I think was his name.
Chris Kirkpatrick?
Yeah. And they were sectioning it off because Kid Rock was coming. And so Kid Rock was there and in this section, but Chris from NSYNC came over, was chatting with my friend, obviously a lot more than me, and I was married at the time, but we did take a cool photo of doing the bye, bye, bye with Chris from NSYNC.
That's pretty cool.
Was it though, Sal? Was it?
I only know his name. By the way, I don't want people to think that I loved NSYNC because I didn't. I only know his name because Eminem dissed him in a track once. That's
sure you didn't, Sal. All right, it's time to answer our Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And today's question comes from Juan in New Mexico, who asks, have you picked an XFL team yet to follow? Don't forget, you can submit a question by going to cbssportsradio.com/askthepros or tweeting it at CBS Sports Radio using the hashtag #AskThePros. Have you picked an XFL team?
Funny you should say that, Juan, because Maggie, I was talking to you about this a little bit before the show. Yeah. I happened, knowing I was going to do the show with you, I was like, let me make a point to watch this XFL just in case it comes up last night.
Did you think we were going to talk about it?
I don't know. It's a national show. Anything goes. I mean, believe me, when I was doing these shows, anything. Throw something at the wall, hope it sticks. I just wanted to have an idea for it. And my big point is to answer the question, no, I did not pick a team. Yeah. And while it was presentable, right? It wasn't a bad product from, the 5 minutes that I saw. I saw the open a little bit, had the game on, whatever in the background. Why am I going to be interested in it if I don't have a team that I grew up rooting for? Like, how do I just, at 43 years of age, invest in new fandom? I can't.
It's called gambling, Sal. I don't know if you've heard of this thing.
On the XFL, you're going to start, and it is obviously gambling heavy. Are you into it? Have you watched any of it?
I haven't been able to get into it this time around, but I did see a funny, well, not funny, but I saw an interesting headline that A.J. McCarron, who's now the quarterback of the
whoever played last night, one of the teams that played last night.
He said that he actually turned down a backup NFL job and more money because he wanted to play in the XFL because his kids are old enough now where they'll remember watching him play rather than watching him sit and be a bench warmer for whoever. He could actually be the starter here for the
right.
And they're going to have the memories of him actually playing professional football. Do you buy that?
Right. No, I don't. What's the money difference there? Because
I think it's probably pretty significant.
Yeah, because, I would kill my dad if he chose to be his starter. No, Dad, that's great that you were a player. I'd rather have the vacations and nice home and all that. So take the money. So, no, I don't necessarily buy that. The thing that
St.
I like
Louis
about
Battlehawks for ages.
Yeah, that was one.
Of
course. It's like a knockoff. Remember the old video games, sports games that weren't like officially licensed?
Yes.
That's exactly what this reminds me of. Weird logos and teams that you never heard of before.
Or just any given Sunday.
Yeah, right. Well, right. Exactly. Perfect one. The one thing that I like, though, is the different strategy. Like they have 1 point, 2 point, 3 point conversions. Yeah, the different rules where you could go for it on 4th and 15. That's a fun element.
If the NFL isn't taking that 1 yard or 2 yard conversion for 1 point, 5 yards for 2 points, 10 yards for 3, like they're just not doing it right. I think that is something the NFL should take. It'd be awesome.
The math, though, gets so screwed up. Can you imagine old school NFL fans? Even myself, I'm like, no, leave it alone the way that it is. But, yeah, it is intriguing, right?
I think that that's something, a place where the NFL should actually absolutely steal from the XFL. It's hard for me to get into spring football, every iteration of it. There's been so many. It's because I feel like I'm watching, like, when I watch college football, I realize I'm watching a different product, but I'm watching college football. This is like NFL knockoff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it is. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what makes it a little bit tough.
Shug.
No, I'm going to Josh in Eugene, listening to us on 95.3. All right, Josh, your awkward celebrity encounter happened with who?
Andrew Perloff himself.
You got to tell us more.
So in 2003, Michigan had visited Autzen Stadium. Oregon was number 22, and Perloff was there for the Dan Patrick Show, had a booth of sorts, and I was a huge, Dan Patrick Show fan. And saw him and kind of caught him at halftime, and we struck up conversation. I invited him to my family's tailgater, which is big grassy spot. And he's like, yeah, I'll come down there in a couple minutes, because it was just 30-second walk away. And so he came down, hung out for almost the entire halftime, had a bratwurst, soda pop. I tried to talk him into having a beer, but he said he was working. But he visited with the fam and all the friends and stuff, so it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Josh, I thought you were going to say, and then we were kind of giving him the hint, like, all right, time to go, McLovin. And he wouldn't take the hint.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, it wasn't too awkward, but it was pretty cool just because, the Dan Patrick Show is not quite the same without him. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Josh, thanks so much for the call. That's great. And I'm sure we're recording on all of that so we can play it. Yeah, I bet Perloff's going to remember it, too. I wouldn't be shocked by that. Okay, I think that was a good place to leave it.
That's it. I'm dying to find out what the encounter was with Suge Knight.
I know we don't have time for it. It probably ended with someone being held by their ankles over a hotel balcony, which is why I'm just going to leave it with my imagination.
That's one celebrity I see. I'm running the other way. I want nothing to do with Suge Knight. As much as I like the music, no thank you.
Thank you to Mike Samter, to Stu Kovacs, to Kalyn Kahler for The Athletic, from The Athletic, who joined us earlier, and to the great Sal Licata. Catch him on WFAN and SNY. Follow him on Twitter like Mike Piazza does. We'll see him on